For example, your boss dislikes you. Can you change it? Who thinks no? Be honest. You do not know that that is just the amount of your work. For example, you do not believe me, and this is a matter of my effort to our relationships. Time will come and you will believe. But if the boss has much energy of your fate in his hands, that can be a very high mountain, a long way to go. But if you walk, you will get there sooner or later. From my experience, people I know who also self-improve, but we have some incompatibility. At first we do not understand each other, but we walk on in our life and suddenly we are friends. It all depends on how much you have walked in the right direction. We are going to discuss it closely today. It's today's topic. How can I make a choice in my life? Misunderstanding leads my life to stress, and obviously I need to make a choice. That's a good topic to think over. One young man approached me after a lecture and he asked what his calling was. We talked about the purpose of a human life. He wanted to know what to do in life, and I told him. On the following day, he came to the lecture again, and I asked if he made steps in the direction of his calling, his purpose. And he said, "You know, I have a job now. If I move there, should I quit my job and change anything in my life?" I said, "You do not have to do it at once, but you must move in that direction." And he said, "Well, I do not really believe that this is my purpose." And I said, "Then why did you ask me this question?" He said, "I thought you were going to tell me and I will understand it once." I answered, "In order to understand your purpose, you must pass the exam. And once you have, you will know in your heart that is your purpose. But if someone tells you, that changes nothing." He said he did not understand. I asked him if he was married. He said no. I asked if there were unmarried girls in the audience. One girl raised her hand, and I said, "You are going to live together. That is your wife." He looked. I asked, "Are you inspired?" He said no. And why? And he said, "Well, I need to choose for myself." "But it's the same with your purpose," I answered. It is the amount of work. You must live your life to understand that that is your person, your wife. And the same with your purpose. Live your life. Why asking me this? And I answered knowing that nothing will happen. I waited for him to come to the next lecture to start this conversation. How to make a choice in your life. You must make the choice. You must think about it, pray for it. You must search here and there. You must walk on. There are two ways. Either you go and you search, time will come and you will make the choice. But if you do not want to walk there, no one will make the choice for you. You are the only one to make your choice. In general, there are certain rules and techniques. Remind me about it at the lecture when everyone has gathered. I will tell you about inner meditation, about attitude, for you to know that that is the right path. There are certain signs inside you. And these signs surely reveal themselves. And you will know where to go, what choice to make. There are three basic points. The first one is prayer, that helps you to choose. The second one is after you have prayed, when there is something in your heart, you ask advice from your seniors. And if there are no seniors, that is your problem, because you do not want to have them. Ignorant people think they are seniors for themselves. Passionate people just trust no one. And there are goodness people who have seniors in their lives. If you have no seniors, you are not in the mode of goodness. Goodness life is impossible otherwise. You are proud if you do not want to listen to anyone. Pride does not allow you to make your choice. If you are proud, you only have your possibilities to choose from. Some people are very intelligent, they are able to understand many things, but there are situations when even intelligent people get perplexed. Life can knock down anyone, be he strong or weak. But sometimes it is so hard that you cannot get back up again, and you need a hand of help. And if you're proud, you will stay on the ground until you are strong enough to get up, or it may not even happen at all. You must always have a senior in your life. And the third basic point is the scriptures. There is this method. You take the scripture with faith, because you have connection to the super soul, and you open the book at some place. You do it 3 or 4 times and you will find your answer. The words will be written right for you. This is a request of consult. I do not give personal consults because I see no point in them. People suck me dry of any strength. When is my daughter going to get married? When am I going to be cured? They want me to pass their exams for them. But when a person stands up and tells his problem in front of everyone, that is confession. God gives him answer, because he really wants to know, and he won't tell too much, because otherwise he will be laughed at. I do not give personal consultations. I have a vast negative experience in this area. People exploit me as a person. I have been stressed for a few years. I do not know what happened to people in the picture. If they need help, how can I do it? How can I know if I have helped them? Please help me. Are these people alive or not? Are they in hell or heaven? I need more details. I cannot tell you like this. I need to study this. I can make a mistake just by looking at the picture. If there is a difficult Saturn period, you know, your question is wrong in general. You want me to give you an answer. The question is, how likely stress is in this period? Stress does not necessarily has to happen. Stress is a challenge given by the super soul or God. I cannot. No astrologer can tell you if you're going to get stressed. It is impossible. Because there may be some difficulties in life, and one person will overcome them and another not. God decides if you will get stressed. And it is wrong to ask these questions. For example, I tell you, you're going to get stressed in some time. What does it mean? I program you. And astrologers do it often to sustain their reputation. They deceive people because stress is your test, your exams. And astrologers do not decide that. God does. And you will pass these exams before God. How can I stop in stressful situation in time without saying or doing too much? That is not a stressful situation when you do or say too much. That means you lose your balance and can be anger or resentment. Stress means when you do not feel happiness for a long time. A person is in such condition that he cannot live for long because there is no happiness in his mind, in his psyche. He does not know where to go. My family relationships have reached an impasse. How can I help it? Mostly people base their family relationships on getting enjoyment from out each other. That is called being in love or liking each other. People demand enjoyment from each other and they think that that is the point. And when there is no enjoyment left, there is an impasse. For example, I enjoy a girl's body. I kiss and hug her, and I give her flowers so that she smiles to me. A wife cooks for her husband, for him to love her and to kiss her. Everyone does what he should in order to receive enjoyment. Then there comes a time and there is no enjoyment left because it is limited and it depends on our good fate. The more piety we have from the past life, the more we make people happy. But if we do nothing, we are not selfless, it all comes to an end. Moreover, there is negativity on the way and it is accumulated. If I demand happiness and he has nothing more to give me, then there is a negative reaction and then aversion is accumulated. People often try to get happiness from each other with sex, but there is no happiness left in this aspect. It was all spent, and then they do it violently. They try to squeeze out more happiness, they have some perverted things, and then they are sick of each other. If you gorge on your favorite ice cream daily, in a year you will be sick of it. You should learn to serve each other, to take care of each other, to act selflessly. That creates love. And all the dirt and aversion that you have accumulated gradually fade away. Just like you clean your teeth well daily, they become white in time, because you invest in your relationships, but the process of investment is very painful, because we want to enjoy others, but we have no strength to serve, and in order to get it, we must establish relationships with holiness, with purity. This selflessness is unique. It does not exist on its own. It only exists in relationships with saints. That is why throughout the times people prayed. Why did people pray daily for such long time? Because they got selflessness and distributed it, and they created happiness around them. Just imagine if I read this lecture with a personal goal. You would have been sick of it. It's the same in your family life. People establish relationships, and if there is enjoyment, it only creates irritation. But if you want to serve selflessly, there is gratitude. It's the same between children and parents. You can call all the time, "Mother, father, do you have money?" And that causes aversion. There is another feeling. One friend of mine, he is a good poet and singer, Yaroslav Klimanov. He has this song. I never forget one thing. When I'm at home, I bow down to my mother and father, no matter who they are. This is called service. It does not matter if the person thinks well or badly of you. It does not matter what his habits are. Just bow down to your parents. This is selfless service. And you can also be so kind to your spouse. It does not matter who he or she is, just because he lives next to you. That is selfless service that requires strength. If you do it, there is immediately gratitude in response. And then ice is broken. How can you break an impasse in your family relationships? It is impossible. Instead of breaking your impasse, you should start to melt it with love. That is your amount of work. You must serve each other, and then there will be no more impasse. Sometimes karma is so heavy between spouses. It is so hard for them to speak that they just can't. That is no problem. Live separately for a while. Create relationships in your heart, because that is where they appear. How can you tell if I give this lecture sincerely? How can you tell? You listen to someone's opinion or what? You should get seated and listen. Time will come and you will know. Similarly, your spouse. You can either understand him or not your whole life. Many people have not spoken sincerely to each other in years. They discuss some matters, children, business, war, or their car, but there are no sincere conversations, which means opening your heart, revealing your deep desires. Normally, it only creates irritation, because your spouse does not want to serve you, and your sincere words do not make him enjoy. Love is always compassion. It means that you suffer for someone. You should be brave in your heart. You should be able to suffer for others. Then you get gratitude and love back. But we do not want to do it. We want to enjoy, and that is the problem. And our relationships get ruined. But if there is a wall between spouses, this is what fate did. Just wait, it will pass. Bad periods pass and there are good times. If there is winter, there will be summer. How can I move on in relationships instead of staying in one place? And how can I not accept bad things? You see, the question is, how can I not accept bad things? How can I enjoy more? You can't.
Как развиваться вместе?
How can we progress together?
Как договариваться
How
вместе, распоряжаться
can we
финансами?
agree on
Надо
finances?
сначала не договариваться финансами,
First, you
а
should not
сначала сердца
agree
соединить,
financially.
а
You
потом все
should
само собой будет.
connect your hearts,
Если вы не
and
доверяете
everything
друг
else will
другу,
happen
как вы будете
naturally.
договариваться
If you
финансами?
distrust each other,
Вы не верите
how can you
просто друг
have
другу, и
common
всё.
finances?
Можете
You do
друг с
not
другом
trust each
сексом
other.
заниматься, в
You
кино
can have
ходить,
sex together or go to the movies.
наслаждать,
You
целоваться,
can
может, но вы не верите
kiss,
друг
but
другу.
you
Это
do
разные
not
вещи.
trust each other.
Наслаждаться и
These are
верить.
different things, to enjoy
Разные
and to
вещи.
believe.
Вера, она
Belief
никак не
has
связана
nothing
с
in common
договоренностью.
with
Можно договариваться хоть
agreements.
50 лет.
You can
и не
agree
договориться,
all you
потому
want
что
and
это
still reach no
внутреннее
agreement
чувство
in 50
зависит от
years.
внутренней
This
жизни,
inner feeling
понимаете,
depends
которую
on
вы
your
должны проделывать
inner
каждый день
life
в отношении
that
к
you
близкому человеку.
must
Нужно
have
мысленно
daily.
кланяться святому
You
человеку,
bow down
вспоминать
to
своего
a
близкого
saint,
человека,
you
вспоминать, как
remember
встретились
your
первый
spouse
раз,
or close
прощать,
person,
просить
remember how you
прощения.
first
Даже
met,
начать эту
you forgive
сердечную
and
работу
ask for
очень трудно.
forgiveness. But it is very hard even
Вот
to
мне,
start
допустим,
this
очень
inner
трудно
life.
смотреть
For
вам в
example,
глаза и
it is
все
very
объяснять.
difficult for me to look in your eyes and explain
Потому что в
everything,
каждом глазах
because in
каждого из
the
вас
eyes of
трудность
each one of
находится,
you
и мне
there
ее
is a
надо
problem
преодолевать
and I
сейчас.
must overcome it now.
У каждого есть
This
трудность у вас в
problem
глазах. Эта
manifests
трудность
in
выражается в сомнении,
doubts,
безверии,
in disbelief,
отчаянии,
despair,
боли и так
pain,
далее.
etc.
Но если я хотя бы капельку
But if
сделаю
I
это движение
move
к вам,
just a little
то
bit
вы
towards
будете
you,
мне больше
then
доверять.
you will trust me more.
И тогда мне не надо
And
будет с вами ни о
then
чем
I wouldn't
договариваться.
have
Все
to
само
make
собой
agreements with
произойдет.
you. It will happen naturally.
Я уж не
Let
говорю о
alone
другом
a
вообще, о
completely
другом,
different
когда люди
situation,
настолько
when
сильно в
people
сердцах
are so well
соединены,
connected
что
in
они
their
защищают
hearts
друг от друга от
that
смерти.
they protect each other from
Это
death.
реальность,
It is
которую
real,
многие из нас не могут представить
and
себе.
many of us cannot imagine it.
Верю в тебя,
I believe in you,
дорогую подругу
my dear
мою.
friend,
Эта вера
and
от
this
смерти
faith
меня
saves me from death
темной ночью
at
спасает.
dark nights.
Знаю, не спишь,
I know you are
и у
awake,
детской кровати
and you
тайком
sit
ты
by a
слезу
cradle
оброняешь.
and cry.
Темная ночь,
The
только
night is
пули
dark,
свистят по
and
степи,
only bullets
только
are
ветер
heard.
гудит в проводах,
There is wind
звезды мерцают.
and starlight. I know you are awake this night,
Любимая знаю,
my
спит.
beloved one.
Понимаете? Человек сидит в
A
окопе,
person is
пули
in a
свистят,
trench and there are bullets
в
above
проводах
him.
гул.
There is
Может
wind.
быть, он живет последнюю секунду жизни.
Maybe that is his
Он
last
знает
second
точно,
of
что
life,
любимая не спит,
and he knows for sure
и она
that
его
his
спасает
wife
от пули
is
сейчас. И это
awake
Ведах
and she
прямо
saves
черным
him
по белому
from
написано, сам
bullets.
читал.
And the
Что если
Vedas
женщина
say
верит,
it black and
верна
white.
своему мужу, и
If a
думает,
wife is
молится о нем, он не
faithful to her
погибает, остается
husband and
живым.
she prays for him,
Она
then he
сохраняет
stays
его жизнь.
alive. She saves his life with her power.
Вот о чем
This
надо
is
думать,
what
мои
you should
хорошие, а не
think
то, как
about,
нам
my dear
договориться о
ones,
финансах.
and not how
Да
can we
никак вы
agree
не
on
договоритесь, если у
finances.
вас
There
нет
is no
желания
way.
служить
If you
близкому
have no
человеку, молиться
desire
о
to
нем,
serve,
прощать,
to
просить
pray for
прощения,
your spouse,
сесть
to
утро на
forgive
утро и
and
молиться
ask
за
for
него.
forgiveness,
Если нет такого
if you do
желания
not
так
want
жить,
to
тогда вы
pray
не
in the
договоритесь. А
morning,
если есть
you
такое
will
желание
never
так жить,
agree.
тогда точно вы
But if you
договоритесь, без
want
всяких
to,
проблем. И не надо даже об
naturally
этом
you will
думать.
agree.
Потому
There
что
is
когда
no
люди
need to think
сердцами
about
соединены,
that.
верят сердцами
Because
друг
when
друга,
hearts are
зачем им
connected,
беспокоиться о
people
том, как им
trust each
договориться?
other and they
А если не
are
даже не
not bothered
договориться,
by
он
these
больше себе
matters.
взял, ну и бог с ним,
And even
хорошо.
if one of the
Ничего
two
страшного в
gets
этом
more
нет.
money,
Если твое
there is
сердце
no
за, а
problem
не
if
против,
your heart is
тогда,
okay with
пожалуйста,
it.
может, нужно
Maybe
действительно
he
человеку
actually
больше.
needs more money.
В чем проблема тогда?
What's the problem then?
Как доверять друг другу?
How can we
Это
trust
всё
each
одно и то
other?
же.
It is
Как
all the
перестать
same. How
подавлять
can we
друг
stop
друга в
suppressing
развитии?
each other in development?
Что значит жизнь
What
течет
does it
зря?
mean? Life goes in vain. That's a nice question.
Что значит жизнь течет зря?
What does it mean if your life is in
Если вы рано
vain?
утром не садитесь,
If you don't
свое
sit
сердце
down
не
to pray
посвящаете
in the
святости,
morning, you
не
do not devote
раскаиваетесь,
your
не
heart
молитесь,
to
не просите
holiness,
прощения, не
you are
желаете
not
никому
repentant,
счастья,
you do
а
not
просто
ask
встаете,
for
готовите,
forgiveness or
идете
wish
на
happiness,
работу,
you just
смотрите
cook
вечером
and
там
go
поделите
to
еду,
job and you watch TV in the evening, then surely your life is in vain. And when it comes to an end and you stand before your conscience, in the end the one who leads us in life stands before us, and you will have nothing to tell him. Why did he give you life force? Why did he give you happiness and all possibilities? Just for you to dumbly eat your food and watch TV? This is not what human life is meant for. It is meant to learn to believe and love, forgive and ask for forgiveness, to care and to move on in everything, and not just to enjoy life. And if you live and don't progress, then your life is in vain, for sure. And you will feel it in the end. To be exact, we will feel it in the end. I got on a high horse a bit now. We will. It will happen to me as well as to others. It is easier to live. This is what I do it for. But I cannot have intimacy in relationships with my husband. You see, she wants to enjoy her life after all. You do not have to achieve anything. Just live your life and wish happiness. There are two ways to be happy. One is to receive a ticket from God. You get a ticket. Here it is. Thank you. And more. One way to be happy is to get what you want, and you are okay. People want to live like that. They want to have a free pass. They want to have happiness. And there is another way. You do not think if there is harmony in relationships. You just serve and serve to your spouse. If you feel you lack reciprocity, you can only get it from God. People cannot completely reciprocate to each other. Try to cook to your husband so that you receive it back as much as you invested in your cooking. Because people get used to what they have and then they are negligent. There is no reciprocity between people. We are naturally egoistic. But if you pray to God, then after each prayer in your heart there is grace. There is always reciprocity with God, and He never gives you less. You make one step towards God, He makes 100 towards you. If you pray just for one day, your life is changed for many days. Why don't we establish relationships with holiness? It's impractical, we are not paid for it. And it concerns everyone, not just this woman, this nice woman. Everyone wants to live better, but this does not help. I am inattentive and fussy, I have a bad memory. Me too, my memory is bad. I can only memorize at the second attempt. And for me, sometimes 5 is not enough. I read a lot, I try to train it, and it does not help. My husband refuses to repeat twice. When I ask him to tell me something, he answers. It's useless, you're going to remember nothing. He blames me that I do not want to change. And also in the form of a joke, he lets me know that I'm old and unpretty, that I need to find another husband and he needs another wife. And at the same time, he wants children. Thank you for being so sincere.
Когда люди живут в
When two
невежестве,
people
они
live
ненавидят.
in ignorance, they just
Поэтому
hate each
семейная
other,
жизнь даже в
and
невежестве невозможна.
family life
Невежестве
in the
можно
mode of
только пожить
ignorance
вместе,
is
понаслаждаться и
impossible.
разойтись, и всё.
You can only
Когда
get
люди
together,
живут в
enjoy,
страсти,
and break
они
apart.
живут для того,
In
чтобы
the mode
что-то
of
иметь
passion,
друг от
people
друга.
live together to have something
Допустим, я
from
хочу
each
от
other.
близкого человека,
For
чтобы он
example, I
говорил
want
мне
my
по 2 раза,
spouse to
а он
tell me
хочет от меня
everything
ребенка.
twice, and he wants to have a
В
child
целом
from
мы не
me.
доверяем друг
But
другу
in general, we do
и
not trust
уже
each other
мечтаем разойтись.
and dream about breaking up.
Так обычно люди живут
This
в
is the
страсти, у
way
них
passionate
просто
people usually
нет
live.
доверия
They
друг
have
другу.
no trust
Они
for
живут
each other.
ради
They
какой-то
live
цели
for
друг с другом.
some common purpose.
Почему так?
Why is it
Потому
so?
что мы не можем
Because
просто так увидеть душу друг
we
друга. Для
cannot
того, чтобы
see the
увидеть
soul in
душу
another
в вас,
person
я
so
должен вам
easily.
искренне служить.
In order to see the
Петь
souls in you,
честно
I
перед
must
вами,
serve you sincerely. I
смеяться,
must
шутить
sincerely
и так
sing,
далее.
make
И
jokes,
тогда в вас
and
открывается
then
душа.
your
Вы
soul
начинаете
reveals. You
слушать меня
start
с
to
душой.
listen to me with
Я
your
вижу в
soul,
вас очень
and I
хорошие
see
качества
very
во всем.
good qualities in all of
Точно
you.
так же, если вы
Similarly,
служите
if you
близкому
serve to
человеку
your spouse
искренне,
very
честно, заботитесь
sincerely,
об нем, у него
he
раскрывается что-то хорошее
reveals
в
good
сердце,
qualities
и
of his
это
heart to
хорошее
you.
становится видно.
Once
Раз это
it is
становится видно,
revealed,
значит появляется
there is
любовь.
love.
Потому что когда человек
Because
благодарен, у него в
when a
глазах
person is
чистота
grateful,
просыпается,
there
то
is
есть что любить. А
purity
так
in
человек
his
как за
eyes, and
маской,
then you
его
can
не
love
видно.
him.
И люди, когда вот
And
живут просто,
when two people
понимаете,
just live
чтобы
together,
любить человека, нужно
you see,
подвиг
in
совершать
order
каждый
to
день.
love a
Энергия
person, you must
любви,
be a
она
hero
не
daily.
появляется просто так.
Energy
Нужно
of love
совершать
does not
усилия.
just appear, you must endeavor.
Приведу пример.
Here is an example.
Приведу пример. Вот, допустим, мы часто
My
с женой
wife
ездили
and
с
I
одного
used
места на
to
другое,
move around a lot
что приходилось читать лекции.
because I gave lectures.
И мы приехали в Москву, в
And
одну квартиру переехали.
we came to Moscow, we moved
И
into one apartment.
я помню такой эпизод
I
интересный.
remember there was
забавный.
this interesting
Она
case.
быстренько напекла пирожки.
She baked
По-женски,
pies
знаете,
quickly.
женщины свои особенности.
You know, women do it in their
распространяют
way.
любовь вокруг себя.
They spread love
Она
around
напекла
them.
пирожки,
She
позвонила
baked
соседке,
pies,
такая
called
встала
a
перед ней с
neighbor,
пирожками.
stood
Говорит,
in
меня
front of
зовут
her
Лена.
and said, "My name is Lena.
Я
We've
мы только
just
сюда
moved in
приехали жить.
here.
А скажите, вот
Tell me,
я
are
нормально
these
посолила,
pies
вообще
okay?
пирожки
Is there
вкусные?»
enough salt?"
Она попробовала, дала
The
свои
neighbor
советы,
tried them, gave her
как печь
advice
пирожки.
on pie baking,
Та взяла, опять
and
напекла,
my
как она
wife
сказала.
baked more pies
Пришла
as
еще раз.
advised. She again went to the
Попробовала, так
neighbor.
вот, теперь вкусно.
The neighbor tried it,
Молодец.
said it
Ну,
was
возьмите
tasty,
тогда их себе.
and then my wife gave all
взяла.
the pies to her.
Прошло
6
полгода.
months later, I was
И так получилось, что я
leaving
выхожу
the
из дверей
apartment,
соседа.
and at the same
И
time,
сосед
the
смотрит на
neighbor's
меня и
husband
улыбается.
did. And he
Полгода
smiled at me
прошло.
and smiled. 6 months later,
Он улыбается, потому что он вспомнил
he smiled
пирожки.
because he
Ему
remembered
жена рассказала
the
про пирожки,
pies.
они ели,
His wife
радовались
told
пирожкам.
him about it.
Любовь
They were
это сложно
happy.
дать. Для этого нужна смелость, понимаете?
Love
Нужно
is hard to
немножко
give.
силы.
You need bravery, some
Один
strength
раз мы были в
inside you.
ведическом храме,
Once we
там
were
освещают
at
пищу,
a
и
Vedic
потом
temple,
раздают ее.
and there is
Иногда
sanctified
даже
food there
полпирожка
distributed,
достается освященной
and
пищи. Так
sometimes
моей
you
жене
only
досталось
get half a
полпирожка освященной
pastry.
пищи.
And so my wife got half a pastry.
Она любит раздавать
She
освященную пищу,
likes
а я
to
люблю есть.
distribute sanctified
У нас
food,
разные
and
с ней
I like to
подходы.
eat it.
Я хотел
I
от нее
wanted
спрятать эти полпирожка, она их нашла
hide
в
this half a
сумке.
pastry, but she found it in
Я
the
понял,
bag,
что всё,
and I
не
knew
уходит.
that was the end.
Полпирожка уходит
It was
освященной
gone.
пищей. Вот, и
But
ситуация дальше
then I
разворачивалась,
realized
но я
that
потом
she
понял,
couldn't
полкило
give
пирожка она
anyone
никому
half a
не даст, потому что
pastry
это неудобно.
because it is
Полпирожка
awkward.
вкусное как будто, ну вообще
It's
это
like it's
неудобно.
been eaten.
Мы ехали в такси,
And
в машине,
we took a taxi
И,
home, and
ну, я расплатился
I
за
paid.
машину, мы выходили, и жена
We were leaving, and
неожиданно достает
suddenly
полпирожка,
my wife took half a
дает
pastry
водителю,
out, gave
а
it
это
to the
вам.
driver, and said, "It's for you.
Женщина немножко пот пошел.
Are you getting a little sweaty?
Нет?
No?
Нет, у кого-то не идет. У
Well,
меня пошел.
and I got sweaty then. When I saw that,
внутри такой
I was all cold on the inside.
Но удивительно, он сначала
But
посмотрел ей в
amazingly,
глаза,
first he looked in her eyes,
а потом взял
and
эти
then he
полпирожка,
took half the pastry, looked at me and asked, "What is this? What is this?" and started to eat it at once. It was like a hypnosis. But then he started to smile and drove away. That is love. Love has no motive, no conditions or boundaries. It always gives happiness, but you must make an effort. You must break through inside of you for your close person. Maybe we do not have these rules in our relationships to do something selflessly. He may even laugh at you, but there will be gratitude awakened in his heart. There is no protection against selflessness. What does it mean to pray? To ask God and to thank God, to glorify Him. How did you pray in that case with your parents? Look here, I chant, I love you, I love you, I love you. Is there a feeling? No. But if you remember your first acquaintance, and you say just once, I love you, I love you, with this memory about your first acquaintance. You say it just once. Is there a feeling? No? Is there? No. I am very grateful to you for both yesterday and today for looking at me at the lecture. Do you have the feeling? Yes. And you say no. It's impossible not to have it. If you connect your memory, then feeling comes immediately. It's impossible otherwise. Okay, your grandmother, that is great, that means you love her. Love never ends, it is eternal by nature. What do you mean she is not alive? That is your illusion. Do you think she is not alive? I can see your grandmother now. She is alive. She really exists. I can feel her as a person now. She was very attentive. These are her qualities. She is still like this. She is attentive and calm. Intelligent. Can you feel her when I describe these things? I can see your grandmother, and that is why you remember her. We live in complete ignorance. We do not know how this world works. Your mother is your guardian angel. She went to the higher planets. She is a very pure person, and she protects you, gives you strength and knowledge. You should pray by establishing relationships. You must search for relationships. You can read about lives of saints. If when you read you feel inspiration, there is an unusual feeling in your heart, then you put a picture of that saint and bow down to him and remember that feeling that you had when you first read about him, and so your relationships begin. Never pray without memory of what you do. Always remember what has already happened in relationships when you last prayed. First bring your memory out and then pray, but never pray without contact. You can have contact with a holy place or holy water, or a saint, or his relics even, or his picture. But if you just chant something dumbly, nothing is going to happen. This world is made of relationships. There is no emptiness and empty words. You always must reach for the object you want to establish relationships with. People often think that Jesus Christ is unreachable, but that is nonsense. The more elevated the personality, the closer it is to us, always. Because elevation opens the hearts, that means closeness. Sinful people are far from each other, and pure are close. This is what it means to pray. To glorify God means to remember what He did for you and to thank Him. It all is relationships. I pray like this, the way I tell you. It is also very important for me to play my mentor's voice and to repeat the prayer along with him. When I pray in his mood, there is many times more force. To love means to serve. A wife must serve her husband. Exclamation point. I serve my husband. I cook and clean for my husband, but I cannot be gentle, I cannot smile and be positive. What can I do? How can I become sweet and gentle? My husband suffers. You must become brave. Gentleness is bravery in woman. You must be braver. Come up to him, smile to him. Is it difficult? Women have a female force, and it is love. You must smile, but to your husband. One girl came up to me after a lecture in Irkutsk. She was so happy, she smiled, and she asked, "Ali Gennadievich, can I hug you?" And I said, "No, my wife does not allow it. You can hug your husband, but not someone else's." The relationships are different. I am resentful. All women are resentful. How can I change it? You can't. Why do you want to have presents? Just live as you are and do your duties. How can I read my lectures so that there was a halo and I levitated? You can't, just do it as you can. And why do you need all these things? Oh, this handwriting is really bad. Can you please read it to me? If you know that this person is your soulmate, you feel it, and you often meet in life, but he cannot confess. Can I spend time with other young men in that time? Or will I just waste my female energy? This is how it works. Girls do not fall in love at once. They have energy of love, they distribute it, and they check the reaction. If someone responds, they consider him. It is like fishing. there are a lot of fishing rods, then you know where there is more food and you put some extra bait there. But that does not mean that you already have the fish. Women usually do not know what kind of fish that is. She cannot understand the person, and she takes relationships very seriously. But if you start dating with someone, you should stop looking around. It is not fair. Otherwise, how can you live with that person? You already cheat on him. Cheating stays in your relationships. So once you have started dating, goodbye to everyone else. But before that, you can smile and look at 5 young men at once, no problem. Are you okay with this? Dating does not mean sleeping. Dating means talking, discussing important matters. There is a purpose. The girl wants to have family, and this is what you should discuss. Family life, plans for life. You do not need to fool each other. Be honest while you date. But if he drags you into bed, don't go. Because when a man enjoys a female body, he loses his love, and the woman gets attached. She feels deeper. He cools down and she heats up. She is dependent and he is not interested. So a woman must always keep distance until he decides to get married. And it's even better only to have sex after marriage. Some think, and what if we are not compatible? We did not check it. How can we live together? Ancient culture says that sexual incompatibility means that people do not understand each other, because when they do, they are always compatible. This is only mutual understanding that is formed in relationships and not sex. When I speak to young people, I speak, but they don't listen to me. I address them, and I'm ignored. It has been like this for the last 2 years. What can I do? You have a bad period in life. You have no strength to convey information. That is normal. You must just take it. It happens sometime. You say, and people do not listen. It will end. It is just a mechanical thing. If you want me to tell you when it is going to end, then raise your hand if you are here. It's almost over. In 3 months you will be heard again. It is true that you have this problem now. It shows. It happens so. Some punishment comes from the past inevitably, but then it is over. Even now it is better. It was at its worst a year ago. How can I correct these traits? Resentfulness. You shouldn't correct it. You must learn to understand people. We are resentful because we do not understand. But people around us suffer, everyone. Why are they aggressive? Because of their pain. A person is hurt and he screams. If we are more attentive, then we won't be resentful. Knowledge gives forgiveness. Just imagine, some stranger, a drunk, is in a puddle. First you are disgusted, but imagine it's your son. Will you be disgusted? No, at once you will try to get him up because you know him. You know why he is drunk, that his life is hard, he was left by his wife. You just try to help him. Anger always comes out for a reason. If you know that reason, if you are more attentive to another person, you are not resentful. Anger comes from pain also. Some get angry, others resentful. We cannot take it away. There is less anger when you progress spiritually. When there is purity in your heart, there are less pain and anger and resentfulness. There are more happiness, there less suffering. Anger and resentfulness are caused by suffering. When there is a lot of happiness inside, you can take any situation. This is all with the questions. I'm going to move on to the lecture based on what we've discussed. The most important thing in overcoming stress and difficulties in life, you must understand that there are two ways to understand these difficulties. The first is you just want to work. You should always know that working on yourself and relationships always leads to victory. And the second is, if there is no victory for a long time, then God does not want you to correct your relationships. He wants you to change your attitude to life. What is a full-scale stress that lasts for years? You do not know what to do anymore. That means that your goal of life is wrong. And when you change it, and it is a long and painful process, then your stress is gone on its own. Because the super soul, God, is satisfied and there is happiness. And your life comes back to normal. And you ask, why is he unsatisfied? Because he gives us life, he gives us opportunity to live. You are here not on your own. Would you like me to prove it to you? For example, you eat, you swallow food. Do you know what happens inside? No. And it is absorbed with someone's help. It is distributed to all cells. Everything works in sync every second. For example, you want something and you know in your heart, your intuition tells you how to get it. Intuition is what someone tells us. You had a long depression, you were tired of life, and once someone close to you told you, this is so, you should listen to the lectures, and suddenly you felt it, you needed it, you belonged there. How did it happen? Why did you feel it? One girl told me to listen to your lectures. I know that this is what I am saying. But why did you agree to it? Why was there warmth in your heart? I listened but you don't just listen to anything. There is a reason for you to listen. God told you from the inside to listen to it. And you do not know it, but I do. Is this clear to you? So listen and have no doubts. You just sit and doubt, but you should listen with faith. Okay? It is just that my sister died 2 months ago. Your sister did not die. She is alive. No one dies in this world. And we will also leave this body someday, for sure. Some do it sooner, some later. Why sooner? Because there is no need to live here anymore. And before, God had provided the body with the energy of life, but then He stopped because she needed to be elsewhere. This is how this world works. But there are 2 little kids left behind, and they also need this life, because it will make them stronger. And there is also compassion awakened in you. Do you see how many deep feelings there are inside you thanks to her departure? There are no accidents in this world, no injustice. There are laws that you must learn to accept. You must learn to pray now. She needs your help, your sister. With your prayer, you must help her to go through body change. You don't want to? I pray, but it's been very hard lately. It is hard because it is hard for her, and you lack strength. You do not know how to get strength. You should meditate on a saint. The harder it is, the more work it requires, but you do not want to work with your heart, and that makes you depressed. Is it better now? Is your heart lighter? Yes, it is, but that is not your merit. Now you should do the same with your heart. Don't be lazy. I did it for you, but now you must do it. Do you understand it now? All people, all relatives are connected. There are like threads between our hearts. It can be compared to a lake. There is a lake of happiness in our heart. There is also a piety, and there are relatives connected with love to us. And this happiness flows from one relative to another. For example, there are problems with the child, he is sick, his mother is worried, and this worry means that energy flows from her heart. But the mother should not worry. She must put a picture of a saint or remember a holy place and start worshipping holiness. I want to live for you. I want to serve you. Please, protect me. I want to serve you. Give me strength to live right. I wish everyone happiness. You should start your selfless life, and in that moment the mother will remember her child. He will demand energy, but she shouldn't think of him, because she should remember a saint in that moment. Our intelligence goes where our thoughts are, and the child will take strength from you naturally. People naturally take energy from our hearts. We do not need to remember about them. And the child will get better, and the mother will feel it, the heart will be peaceful. So our hearts are connected. And if you feel there is a stone between you, then again think about a saint and bow down to him in your thoughts. I want to serve you. And in that moment, remember the person you have a stone in relationships with. Remember how you first met him, what good things you had together, what good things you did for each other, and try to break this stone through relationships with holiness. Gradually, this stone will melt away, and when you see that person, you will see there is nothing bad between you. Maybe it would be hard to speak because there's something in the past, but your heart is fine. You should build relationships in your heart. This desire to have agreements about everything is wrong. You have relationships in your heart with both those who are with you on this earth and with those who are no more, but they are still all with you. Your sister is with you. She's gone nowhere. She is so quiet and peaceful. Yes? She is here, I can feel her. She is here with us. You couldn't help her on your own, but I did a little. Learn to help your relatives. She wasn't, she is. When a person realizes that, there is happiness in his heart. We lack knowledge in life. We live like everyone else does. Ignorant people live as they want to, passionate people live like everyone else, and goodness people learn how to live right. They have less frames. They don't care what someone thinks about how they feel about this lecture. Goodness people only care what is right. They are brave in their desire to live right. And passionate people care that people think well about them. It does not matter if a person thinks bad about you. If we are on the right path, no one can blame us, because the heart thinks differently. Right here is our main prosecutor and the one who praises us. And when the person is on the right path, everything is well in the heart. When you pray enough, there is a relief and happiness in your heart, and then God protects you in life just like you have protected your sister. You must work in your heart. You must do each morning what I tell you, although you do not want to. Get up in the morning and make yourself do it. Love is always an effort. You do not go with the flow of your desires. You do what is right. And depression means laziness. You do not want to make an effort. There are a lot of songs about it. People are connected by threads. For the highest love, we must know that connected to us for life by an invisible thread are our beloved ones. Silver weddings, and the fire burns on. There is a conversation heart to heart, not blah blah, but heartly conversation. That means there is connection. And that is why people stay together for so many years. Why do people break up? Because their hearts are not connected. Oleg Gennadievich, why did he leave me? We have 2 children. But there can be 10, but if there is no connection between you, he wants love. There is no, and he leaves. And he does not know what love is. He thinks that love is sex, and he searches someone new sex, until he is completely confused. Thus, there is amount of work in our hearts, and fate gives its challenges. And sometimes, naturally, there is a wall between people. It happens naturally. Time comes and there is this wall. Raise your hands, those who have coldness in relationships. There is no feeling. This is classical. But in your case, the wall has appeared a year and a half ago. And why is this wall needed? It is at its highest now. Is there going to be warmness again? People often think, there is coolness, we are not compatible, we should break apart. But these are just challenges, and people lack knowledge. Why is this wall needed? To know that relationships are more than mere feelings. You should serve and take care about your spouse, and then feeling will come through it. There are two ways to get happiness. One is to enjoy what God gives you, and now, in your case, He gives nothing. And the second is to serve and to enjoy service, and then you are always happy, a wall or no wall. And it's interesting that he has no wall to you. Sometimes it's mutual, but he does not feel it. Your mother, it does not matter, she has no wall. She expects relationships, but it is not something spontaneous. Relationships are service. You must take care of her and she will be happy. Do you hear me? Who else? Yes, the same. But besides the fact that it is your fate, you have another problem. The wall would not have been that strong, but you wanted to enjoy each other really badly, and now you do not have this opportunity. And this is in fact not the wall, but absence of enjoyment. It happens to everyone. Just start to take care of your spouse. For nothing. Just serve him. There is contact now. Even now, there is warmness. It shows there is coolness in your relationships. Your fate gives it for 1 month, and it's nothing. I do not love him anymore. You see how little we need to break apart. Something a bit wrong in the heart and we fall apart. We want to enjoy our spouse every second, but we do not want to serve at all. When a person leaves his body, there are 3 feelings to him left. The first one is an elevated feeling, a bright memory. That means that he went up to the higher planets. Who had this? What's his name? Igor. Yes, there is a bright feeling. He was a bright person. He protects you from above. He gives you grace. If you feel separation and grief, that means your close person will come to the middle planets and he will be born somewhere close. And if there is a stone in your heart, that means that he went down to the lower planets and he will suffer. And in these 2 last cases, you must pray. The person lacks love, and love burns sins. You must look at a picture of a saint and pray, and gradually your stone and this heat, they will go, and there will be only gratitude and bright memory left. That means your relationships will be right. In general, we must have gratitude and bright memory right now to everyone around us. right now, so that afterwards we were not hurt so badly. Why do people have such regrets? I did nothing for you, and who stood in your way? You should start waking up earlier right now. Relationships are established outside direct association. How did I teach you? Memory allows you to move to the person's heart. When you feel his purity, you have bright memory, then you have real love for him, and before you just use him. Without love, there are no relationships. If you want to raise your child, if you want to have understanding with your husband, you need love. If there is no love, your child won't listen to you. Listening is gratitude. First, there is gratitude in the heart, and then the ears are open. Ungrateful person cannot hear. Besides the supersoul, we also have greed in our heart. And it tells us, first goods, then money, first goods, then money. If you treat me well, then I will treat you well. That is our greed, and we must destroy it. We must do it in our heart and start serving to our close person. We must make this step of faith. No one will understand you in this situation. Your mother will say, "Why do you try to please him?" First goods, then money. Our relatives also have greed, relatives on our side of the family. You should also destroy your mother's greed, but do it gently. You can destroy yours hard, but you tell your mother, "It's going to be fine." Do not criticize your husband and your mother. Don't betray them. Do not discuss them with some strangers. Be faithful. One case is when we just did not do our work. We do it and everything is fine. That is 80% of our cases. We pray, we work in our heart, and everything is fine. And the second case is we do the same. We still must work in our heart. Raise your hands, those who have been living inner life for a long time, but it did not help. There are a few people, and that is stress. That means God chose you to make you better. Your tap of happiness is turned off, and God won't turn it on. Do you know why? I'm talking to this girl in the front row. Do you know why? Because you served God in your past life. You served. And you wanted Him to put you on the right path. You wanted it badly, and now He does it. He associates us through time and space. He does what we wanted before. We don't remember it, but He does. He remembers all our lives, but we hardly remember this one. So, before you change, before you start spiritual practice intensively, He won't let you be. You will remain sad. Turn your cell phones off. Right now, you will help your relatives and friends who call you more if you turn your cell phones off. Because now you give them energy of happiness, and if you answer to their calls, you will have nothing to give. And there is this phenomenon. When a person is having sex, he is in a temple or he is eating, his relatives and close people feel there is happiness emanated, and they start to call to get some. and it happens subconsciously. So now you should turn your cell phones off, otherwise there will be a call at a critical moment. All your close people take strength from us unconsciously. We are all connected and we want to get it from each other. You attend my lectures. Do you envy me? No, you just want to have some energy. Knowledge is also a power. There are different types. This is exchange. You give gratitude and faith in exchange for knowledge. I take your faith, I look into your eyes and I see it there, and that gives me strength, and I give you what I have in the form of a knowledge. This is love exchange, and no one never loses in this case, because spiritual energy never ends. In the spiritual world, 1 minus 1 equals 2. A smile makes everyone more joyful. You smile, I smile back. I like it, and there are more smiles. It never ends. Spiritual energy always increases. But you should act selflessly. If you think, I'm going to smile more and get more in return, and it's finished, you must smile from your heart, wishing nothing in return. That is disinterestedness. It does not matter what my case is. Either I can solve my problems quickly, I can quickly get married or get a job, I can get cured easily, or it may take long, or even never. It does not matter at all. You should just start inner life. You cannot live without it. Just like you cannot not brush your teeth, it will stink. Similarly, your heart stinks. You cannot live without inner life. You must purify your heart daily. You must make yourself do it. If you can't focus, make yourself. But there are 2 ways to reach your goal. The first one is austerity, immobilizing your mind. You call it forcing. It's the same. You sit still, you are frozen, and you must always do it. You shouldn't move or walk when praying. You must focus, you must not move. But it makes mind focus, but it does not give good results. Result is only there in love. Always remember. You must remember something important with the object of your prayer. What happened in your life. If you remember it, you bow down to it, you have gratitude. I want to serve you, I am grateful. These are the 2 feelings that give closeness. Then you get closer, and our mind just wants happiness. It does not care if you pray or eat ice cream. If there is no happiness, it searches it elsewhere, or draws your attention. There is no happiness there, and you think about it. But if happiness comes from the object of love, your mind is focused automatically. Focus comes naturally when mind is getting happiness from the object of love. When a person loves, he always thinks about the object of love. I see you in the fog. I see you, I see you. A person cannot break his focus. And just imagine if mundane relationships create such feelings, what deep spiritual relationships are, what power of attraction is there. You will constantly think about and remember a pure, elevated person.
Без любви нет концентрации.
Without love, there is
Можно
no
заставлять себя,
focus.
это тоже правильно и
You
хорошо.
can force yourself, it
Понятно,
is also
рано утром
good.
проснулся, никакой
Of
любви в
course, you
сердце
woke up
нет.
early in the morning, there is
Кроме
no love in
вожделения.
your heart, just
Вот.
lust.
А надо,
And
можно будильник поставить,
you
голос святого
can
человека.
set a voice of a saint as your
Как-то
alarm.
попросили голос, как бы,
Once I
мне,
was
ну,
asked
мой голос на
my
запись
voice
для
for a record
подъема.
to wake up in
Я
the
как
morning.
бы что-то спел для подъема.
They wanted me to sing something to
Я
wake
подумал и
them
спел.
up.
Вставай,
Get up,
проклятием
you who've been
заклеймённый.
cursed. This is the excerpt.
Это шутка.
It's a joke.
Шуточная песня такая.
It's a joking
Ну,
song.
понравилось всем.
But they
Включаю.
liked it. They play it.
Нужно
You
вдохновение
need
какое-то.
It
Вдохновение через звук больше
It
всего.
mostly comes
Если вы,
from
допустим, не можете
sound.
заснуть, мысли
For
в
example,
голову
if you
идут,
can't fall asleep,
прочитайте
there are
10 раз
thoughts in your
молитву
head.
шепотом. Вот читайте
Whisper
прямо
a prayer
1,
10
2, 3, на
times.
10-м уже
1, 2, 3,
пробудитесь.
and you will
Ну,
be
читайте
asleep by the 10th
сконцентрированно.
one.
Контакт
But
с
do
энергией
it
счастья,
focused.
проснутесь, сразу спать
There
захочется,
will
всё.
be happiness coming and
Но
you
вот
will want to
заставить себя
sleep.
прочитать молитву очень
But
тяжело.
it is very
Легче
difficult to
подумать.
force
Подумать.
yourself to pray. It is easier to think.
Ночь
A night
яблоком
knocks on my
стучит.
window.
Нам нравятся вот эти мысли.
We like these thoughts.
Был душой я молод.
I was so
теперь
young,
старик.
but now I am an
Нравится
old
так
man.
думать.
We
Но
like
если хочешь
thinking.
заснуть,
But if
прочитай
you
10
want
раз
to
молитву.
sleep,
Всё.
read a prayer 10 times, and this is
Подумай о
it.
ней и заснешь.
Think about prayer and you will
Ну, не
fall
заснул на
asleep.
10, 20 точно
If
заснешь.
10 times don't help, make it 20.
Мы сейчас поговорим с вами
Now we are going to talk about
о причинах развития стресса.
reasons for stress
В целом,
development.
если говорить о стрессе,
In
вот этом
general,
глобальном, который долго длится,
This long
то
stress
есть 3 причины.
has three
Первая причина
reasons.
—
The
неправильное
first
отношение
one
к себе и
is
своим
a wrong attitude to yourself and your
родственникам, когда ты поверил
relatives.
в родственников и в
When
себя.
you believe in yourself and your relatives,
Дальше, неправильное
the
отношение
second
к
one
окружающему миру,
is a
к обществу,
wrong
природе.
attitude to the world
Да,
around, to
когда
the
ты проявляешь
society and
жадность к
nature.
чему-то, там,
When
хочешь
you
дом
are greedy,
построить,
you
там,
want to have a
ненавидишь
house, or
украинцев, там,
you
или ещё
hate
кого-то.
Ukrainians
Это
or
признак
someone
неправильного
else.
отношения к обществу.
That is wrong
Да, есть
attitude.
проблемы.
You have a problem in your
Богу
head,
не нравится это всё.
and God dislikes
Что он
it
сидит также в
because
сердце
He is
украинцев,
also
так
there
и
in the hearts of
для всех
Ukrainians.
родной.
He is close to
Для всех
everyone,
родной.
and
А
everyone
если мы
are
начинаем
close to
кого-то
Him.
ненавидеть, значит,
If
мы
we
не
start to
понимаем
hate
Бога.
someone, that
Мы не
means
понимаем
we
Бога,
have
за
a
что Он нам дал жизнь.
misunderstanding. We do not
Не для
know
того,
why
чтобы
God
кого-то
gave us
ненавидеть.
life, not to hate.
Правильное отношение к миру.
Wrong
Мир
attitude to this
означает что?
world. The world means,
Мир означает мир.
it means peace.
Мир означает
World means
мир.
peace, not war.
Это означает, что мы должны учиться
It means
понимать,
that we must learn to understand
прощать,
other
просить
people,
прощения,
forgive
принять.
them and ask for forgiveness, accept.
Если мы не стремимся к этому, то
If
будет
we
плохо.
don't strive for it, there is going to be no happiness.
Неправильное отношение к
Wrong
законам
attitude
мироздания,
to the
высшей
laws
силе.
of
А нет никакого
this
Бога,
world
нет
and to
никаких
higher
законов,
forces.
пей, гуляй,
There is
веселись.
no
Значит,
God,
будет
no
стресс.
laws, I'm going to drink and have fun. You're going to have stress then.
Что такое неправильное
What
отношение к
is
себе?
wrong attitude to yourself?
Это значит, что
It means
у человека
a person
нет понимания,
does not
что такое
understand
счастье.
what happiness is.
Есть в целом 2 состояния.
In general, there are
Есть
two
состояние
states.
счастье в труде.
The first one
и есть
is happiness in
состояние
work,
счастья
and
просто
the
так.
second one is
Большинство
happiness
людей
for
просто мечтают о
nothing.
счастье.
Most people just dream about happiness.
Они хотят просто счастья и все.
They want
Это
to
называется
receive it,
неправильное
and that's
отношение к
all.
себе.
That
Человек
means
просто не
wrong
понимает, зачем он
attitude.
живет.
A person does
Мы
not
живем не для
understand why he
счастья,
lives.
а для того,
We do
чтобы
not
сдать
live for
экзамены и стать
happiness, but to
счастливыми.
pass our
Счастье
exams
приходит
and to
как
become
награда к
happy.
человеку. Но если человек
Happiness is a
постоянно
reward,
хочет
but
счастья,
if the person constantly wants
то он будет в
happiness,
стрессе.
he will be stressed.
Он уперто хочет счастья
He
просто и всё.
stubbornly wants happiness,
Но он ничего не делает для
but he
этого, он
does
просто
nothing to
мечтает и
get it.
хочет.
He just
Будет
dreams
стресс,
and
значит,
wishes.
100%.
That means a guaranteed stress.
Если человек хочет счастья
If
от
a
этого
person
мира,
wants to get happiness from this
это
world,
неправильное отношение к окружающему миру.
it is a wrong attitude to this
То есть
world,
будет стресс оттуда придет.
and stress will
Почему
come
неправильно
from the
относимся,
world.
оттуда стресс.
This is how it works.
Например,
For example, we are naturally sensitive to weather.
все, я не хочу такой
That's
погоды,
it.
хочу
I do
такой.
not want this weather, I want another. Who asks you?
У природы нет
Nature
плохой
has no
погоды.
bad weather.
Каждая погода,
Each weather is a grace.
каждое явление
Each natural event
надо
is to be
благодарить.
accepted with gratitude.
Надо просто
You
заставить
should
себя
make an
чуть-чуть напрячься,
effort,
а потом
a
хорошо
little,
становится.
and then you will be better.
Я вчера
Yesterday,
думал, мне
I
надо
thought,
прочитать
I
хорошую
need to
лекцию, мне
give a
надо
good
прочитать хорошую
lecture,
лекцию.
a good
После
lecture.
бани я пошел в
And
реку,
after
летаю,
the
летали
Russian
днищи.
bath, I went
Лёд.
to the river and it was freezing
Я
cold.
пошел, у меня ноги
My
с
feet
болью,
were turning
но мне
cold,
надо
but I
окунуться,
needed to
надо
take a
обязательно
dip.
окунуться. Я думаю, если я не
And I
окунусь,
thought,
значит, и не
unless I
будет силы
do,
читать лекцию.
I will have no force
Я
to
заставил себя
give the
окунуться
lecture.
потом.
And
Когда
I
я
forced
окунулся,
myself.
всё свело
And when I
полностью,
did
всё,
it,
даже дышать
it
тяжело
was
было.
so cold, it was hard to
Вышел,
breathe.
и
Then I
благодать
got
Божья
out,
пришла. И уже
and
не
I
хочется
felt
уходить,
so well, and I
хорошо.
did not
Я
feel like
увидел
leaving.
горы эти,
I saw the
холмы,
mountains, the
лес,
hills,
реку,
the wood,
красоту вот эту вот,
all this beauty,
самобытную красоту.
this natural
Увидел всё это.
beauty of Siberia, and I felt
Но
so
до этого я
well.
не хотел.
But before, I did not want it. I did not want to go into the water. You should make an effort. You should force yourself a little, and then there will be grace. I know that if you force yourself, then there is a rebel.
Если себя заставишь, то
If you force yourself, then
сбунтуешься.
mind is rebellious.
А вы аккуратно
Then
себя
do it
заставляете,
carefully.
вы
You
женщина.
are a woman.
Можно по-мужски себя
You
заставлять,
can
можно
do it
по-женски.
in a male
Надо
or
очень
female
ласково.
way.
Ум
You
женщины
should be very
такой, он классный.
gentle.
Надо себе
Female
сказать очень
mind
ласково: «Моя
likes
дорогая и
care.
хорошая, и
My
любимая,
dear one, my
пойдем
beloved
на
one,
свежий воздух.
please,
Ты уже
let's
сколько
go
сидишь
and
дома,
walk.
у тебя
You have been
постоянно в
sitting
духоте
at
живешь,
home for a long
такая
time.
тяжесть в голове.
You
Отойди.
have no fresh
Зачем,
air
моя
and
дорогая?
it causes
Олег
your
Геннадьевич
headache.
сказал,
And
что
Oleg
тебе не
Gennadьevich
надо
said
слишком много
that you
лениться.
should not be too lazy.
Надо
You
поменьше
shouldn't be
лениться, а
so
то
lazy.
гиподинамия,
You move too
давление
little.
нарушается,
You
постоянно
have blood
головка
pressure
кружится,
problems,
будешь
you
как
get
раз
vertigo.
Вот так вы должны
This
говорить
is
с вашим
what
умом,
you
разговаривать.
should tell your
Говорить
mind.
чистую правду.
And I'm telling you the
Вы должны
truth.
так делать.
You should do it.
Хорошо? Выходите на
Okay?
свежий воздух почаще.
You
Надо
should
будет
have more
сидеть.
fresh air. Do not stay at
Это
home.
гиподинамия, головка
You
кружится.
move too little and then your
Просто
head is
хватает
light.
движения и воздуха.
You need more
Лень.
movement and air. It is all laziness.
Слышали?
You heard me?
Существует
There are
6 врагов
6
человека.
enemies
Враги — это
of
те,
a
которые нас не
person.
спрашивают.
Enemies do not
Понравится мне это
ask
или нет.
us whether
Оно
we like
просто
it or
убивает
not.
нашу судьбу, и
It
всё.
just
Просто
destroys our
убивает.
life.
Но им нужны санкции.
But
для
they
того, чтобы
need
делать.
permission to
Нужны
do it.
санкции. Каждый враг человека
Each enemy
начинает действовать,
starts
когда мы
to act
сами
when we
подписываем с
sign
ним
an
договор.
agreement with it.
Он не может влезть
It
просто так в нашу
can't
жизнь.
act on
Для
its
этого
own.
нужен договор.
An agreement is
В этом мире
required.
все по закону
In this
происходит,
world,
даже
everything
справедливости
happens
не
lawfully, even
Есть
from
высшие силы,
higher
они
and
обладают
lower
огромной
powers.
силой. Есть низшие
And
силы, такой же
both
огромной
are
силой.
very
Между ними
strong.
баланс.
They are balanced because sometimes a person needs contact with higher powers when he self-improves, and when he won't, he is forced by the lower powers, and these powers are needed to stimulate us a little, or not so little, depending on how much is required to make a person self-improve. The first enemy is lust. The Vedas explain it. Lust is based on the energy of happiness, and when there is a great desire to have free happiness, it is called lust. Lust always leads to destruction. And here is how it works for both men and women. But first, this is how it happens in nature. A moth enjoys most of all the sweet happiness comes through eyes. When it sees the light, it enjoys it. There is a lot of happiness. How do you think? Can a single moth die for any other reason than flame? Every moth dies after getting burned. It's either a fire or a bulb. Do you understand it? A fish gets most happiness from taste. Its eyes are blurry, it swims so dumbly. Those who have aquariums know, but it tastes everything, it tries everything. It gets happiness from taste. And how do fishes die? From a bait. It gets hooked up. So, about lust, hearing is well developed in deers. Deers are very graceful. It can hear the forest, it stops and enjoys the sounds of the forest. If there is a horn playing, that is the most beautiful sound for it. It runs to that sound, and what happens next? Bang, bang. Because the horn was meant to attract a deer. It is an ancient method. There is no need to chase a deer with hounds. You just blow a horn. An elephant has a very powerful sexual desire. It is so awkward, but it likes sex. And you do not need to chase an elephant. It is extremely strong. It can take down trees with one movement. I saw a clip, car in prairie, and there was an elephant behind. The car drove and drove, and it was walking behind, and then it needed to run. And it got extremely mad, and that elephant just threw the car away with its tusks and walked on. It is extremely strong. But you do not have to fight an elephant. A cow elephant is trained, and when there is the spirit for mating, the cow elephant runs into stables and an elephant follows. The cow elephant is tamed, and the elephant is wild, and it just follows after the first one. And it is just like that with people. The sweetest taste for us is sex, sexual relationships. And it is not so hard to destroy completely one's happiness. It only requires some girl to give him sweet taste. And he has a wife and children, and he loses his mind completely. He is drawn to that girl, and interestingly so, in that moment, his feelings to his children are cooled, let alone his wife. His children are like strangers to him. Lust is so powerful that it paralyzes intelligence completely. There is no thinking, and that person does not even want to think. All the most powerful poisons are sweet. They taste so nice, and death in a moment. Similarly, lust. It tastes great, but in a minute there is destruction of life. There is nothing left. All the best is gone. And the person whom you get this taste from will also leave you surely. Because sweet taste of sexual energy is not faithfulness. It is just a mirage that appears and goes very quickly. And faithfulness comes from conscience. And God connects two people together. Which ones of you found your spouse yourself? Good for you, but you're mistaken. God did it. Who can't find anyone? Now explain them that they are mistaken. Why can't they find, but you did? You do not know why. Because God connects people. And people try to leave each other, but they can't. They can't, because God keeps them together. But if a person cuts the knot, he will be responsible. A woman is punished by coldness in her heart, and a woman's heart is the force that creates feeling of kindred. If a woman has not betrayed anyone in her life, if she is left no one, if she has, she can even live with a person, but she does not feel related, close. It is interesting. A man often marries because he feels this kindred force coming from a woman. He is attracted. But if a woman has left someone, she can be extremely beautiful, but there is no feeling of kindred, there is going to be no family. Here is what happens to me. My old friend won't visit me, but some just visit me idly and unregularly. In this case, you must be repentant. If you love no more the person given to you by God, you must be repentant until your heart is purified, and then you can have a family again. But when a man breaks up with a woman, he has too much heat in his heart, and he is driven by this feeling of being in love. This feeling is extremely hot, and he builds relationships with one woman, but this rush of feelings quickly fades. Then what? But he wants to be in love, his heart is burning. He gets another woman and more, and he can't stop. He has left his wife, and here it goes. So God punishes us for breaking up with our spouses with the help of a demonic force called lust. This force has its way of punishing. It punishes with sweet taste that people believe in endlessly. Once you felt this taste, you become like a zombie, you follow it. Like an elephant, like a moth, like anyone who wants to enjoy for free. If someone has recognized his situation in life, please come back. Please come back on a cold morning. Come back. It is so hard for me. Come back and stay. We do not want to understand what happens to our close people. They will forgive everything. Just come back, and you will be amazingly happy. When a person really overcomes this lust and he comes back, he never falls for it again. And his spouse forgives it, he understands it in time. He will surely forgive, and if he doesn't, it will be hard for him to leave, because God dislikes it. He makes our life, and we think we do it. And God also sets traps. We think it is going to be all great. Well, we'll see. Life is your test. Is the first enemy understood what that is? The second enemy is anger or resentment. Resentment is a female form of anger, and men display anger. Anger destroys relationships. A person loses opportunities because of anger. For example, it's enough to get angry just once with your boss, and the world is yours. The door smashes behind you, and you go anywhere. You are free, but you have no salary. There are pious people. They can be a little dishonorable, but piety comes first. Why is a person dishonorable? Because he has lost his chance. It's great if a person is pious and rich, he is a boss and he is honorable. That means he is also intelligent. But people misuse piety. Where do you get your salary from? How does the firm function? Why do you work there? It is all thanks to the piety of your boss. But even if he steals and he isn't polite, piety comes first, and you must respect him for that you have the opportunity to work there. But if you disrespect, you will be fired, and you will be jobless. And here is a question: why won't God give me a pious and honorable boss? Not just a pious boss, but also a nice person. Why won't He? What is the answer? Of course, you must deserve it. You must first become good yourself and then ask for a good boss. Nothing is accidental in this world. There are laws for everything. You can't behave right, your boss will neither. You start to behave right, God tests you a bit more and gives you a better boss. Or your boss treats you better at once, which is the same in fact. What does it matter what bad qualities he has if he treats you well? Everyone has their flaws, but no, we always grumble. Our government is bad. Our country is bad. When a person says something bad to another person, he takes all his problems to himself. For example, you know someone who's left his spouse and you tell him with anger, "Why did you break up with him? You hate this person for it." then you will have
есть вы взяли
to
свои
break
все его
up
грехи на себя,
too.
и
You
дальше
took all
за
his
что
sins to
бороться,
you,
на то и напоролся.
and
Есть
then
такая
you
пословица.
get what you fight for.
Понятна система? Называется
Is it
гнев.
clear?
Эта система
It is
называется.
called anger.
Гнев — это проявление гордости.
Anger is a manifestation
Если человек
of
гневается,
pride.
обижается, это значит,
If
что
a
он очень
person
много на
is
себя
angry
берет.
or
Значит,
resentful,
будешь
that
отвечать за
means
это.
he takes
Когда
too
человек
much on
гневается,
himself
рушится
and
его
he will
жизнь.
be responsible.
Просто достаточно
Anger
хорошо
destroys
разгневаться,
life.
и всё полетит в
You
тартарары.
get angry once well and everything is
Когда
gone.
человек гневается, он просто рубит
When a
отношения, всё
person
рубит,
is angry,
всё разрушает
he
то, что Богом
breaks
создано в
up
его жизни.
what was created by God. He destroys his relationships.
Но
But
гнев
anger
имеет свои
has
особенности. Само по
peculiarities.
себе раздражительность,
Just being
гневливость и
irascible
обидчивость —
or
это не гнев.
resentful, it is not real anger.
Потому что
Because
если мы не способны постоянно
if we
служить и
are
отдавать любовь,
unable to
то тогда в
serve
этом
and give
случае
love always,
у нас постепенно
then
накапливается
gradually
неудовлетворенность в нижних
unsatisfaction
центрах
is
психических. Там
accumulated
находится
in our
эгоизм человека
lower
прямо в
psychical
нижних центрах.
centers. There is
То тогда
egoism
эта
down
энергия
there,
эгоизма
and
поднимается
this
не в виде любви
energy
уже
goes
и
up
творческой
not as
способности,
love
желания
and
творить,
ability to
помогать,
create, to
а в
help,
виде неудовлетворенности она
but this
поднимается вверх, доходит до лба,
unsatisfaction
и вот
goes
здесь
up
волевой
to
центр
our
человека, она
forehead,
отсюда
and
из
there is our
междугорья
center
выходит. В это
of
время
will,
краснеют
and
глаза,
this
и это
energy
называется
bursts
вспышка
out from
гнева
here. That
или
is a fit of
обидчивости.
anger or
Сама по себе
resentment.
вспышка гнева и обидчивости —
These
это нормальное
things are
явление для
fine
всех
for
людей, которые не
people who
достигли
are not
святости.
saints yet.
Само по себе в этом нет никаких проблем.
There
Но
is no
если человек
problem,
начинает
but if a
считать
person
это
starts to
правильным,
think that
то,
it
что
is
он
right,
гневается,
that he
то
is
он попадает
angry,
под влияние
then he
демонической
is
силы,
influenced
которая
by
называется
demonic
враг
forces,
человека.
one
Такие
of
люди,
the
которые считают,
enemies.
что у них
People
благородный
who
гнев,
think
они идут
that they have a
просто в
noble
разруху,
anger,
полностью разрушают
they
свою жизнь.
destroy their life completely.
А? Да.
Yes,
вот я
it's
обижена
the
на
same
этого
with
человека.
resentment.
Пожалуйста, получи и
You can be
распишись. Дальше
resentful
полная
with
разруха.
someone,
Что происходит дальше?
and
Все возможности
now
у
there is
человека
destruction.
уничтожаются в жизни.
You
Нормально.
have no more opportunities in your
Обиженный
life.
означает несчастный.
If
Всё,
you
то
are
есть ничего
resentful,
хорошего в
you
жизни
are
нет, удачи
unhappy.
нет такого
No good
всего. Всё
fortune in your
разрушается вокруг,
life.
все планы, перспективы.
All your plans are frustrated.
Принципиально.
Oh, you do it on principle.
Никогда.
Never.
Не, нормально.
It's
Никогда не
okay
общаться,
to
это
never
нормально,
speak
но
to a
можно
person
же
again,
простить
but
этому
you
человеку.
can forgive him.
Можно наказать человека,
You can
это хорошо.
punish him, it's
Наказать за
good.
плохой поступок хорошо.
Punishing for
Но
bad
сердце любить
deeds
и
is
прощать
good,
постоянно.
but you
Но
must
наказать
love in
его,
your heart
чтобы он
and
понял, что
forgive
так нельзя
always.
поступать. Это нормально. Но есть другая принципиальность.
But there is
называется вот
another
так. У
principle,
римлян было показано
like
вот так.
Romans had it.
Означает убить.
It means to
Вот
kill.
эту принципиальность, за эту принципиальность придется
This
платить.
principle is punishable very badly.
Понятно, да, система?
Is it clear?
Наказывать надо обязательно,
You
если вы
should
уполномочены.
surely punish
Если вы
if you
жена,
have
вас муж
authority.
бросил,
For example,
жестоко
you are a
поступил,
wife and
простите
your
сначала,
husband
наказать
left you.
тем, что вы не
First
общаетесь
you
с ним
forgive
больше,
him
не
and then
общаетесь,
you
пока не
punish him
раскаетесь.
by
Цель
not speaking
какая?
to
Раскаяние.
him
Если человек раскаялся,
until he is
искренне,
repentant.
можно дальше
Repentance is
общаться.
your goal.
Ну, не
Once
сильно.
it is there, you can start speaking again little by little.
Праведный гнев есть, праведный
Righteous
гнев.
anger. Yes,
Есть
there
праведный
is.
гнев, факт. Вот если, допустим,
If
вашего
your
духовного
spiritual
учителя
master
оскорбляют,
is
вы
insulted,
можете сделать точный
you
массаж
can
этому человеку
massage
лица.
that person's face with your fist.
Массаж лица, точный массаж.
It's nice.
Вот так.
Like this.
И помассировать. Не-не-не, праведный гнев
No,
ничего не
if
разрушает.
it's
Он идет
righteous,
от Бога.
nothing is destroyed. It comes
Он
from
идет от
God.
Бога, он ничего не разрушает.
And how can we recognize it?
И
With
молитва.
your seniors and with prayer.
Вот я, когда война началась, я начал
When
молиться,
the war started, I
чувствовал
prayed
гнев.
and I tried to understand. I prayed on, and I felt in my heart, I remembered my Ukrainian friends and Russians, and I understood there was no truth in this war, only sadness, grief. And I knew I wouldn't take any sides. That was not my war. I only want peace. That's all. We already have a war. It is never someone else's. If your son gets an infection, you will also have it too. It's a matter of time. War is never someone else's. Remember it. If we take part in it, it is ours. It is infectious, and it spreads unstoppably. It can only be stopped with people's prayer. And a war starts because we did much bad things and we pray too little. When a nation accumulates sins, then it pays off with wars. And people who understand it must pray more for peace and think about it. And then this force of war lessens. Like an infection, if you treat it, it becomes weaker. If not, it destroys everything. War is always ours if we participate in it somehow. Let us not discuss any nations, it is wrong. So, anger is our enemy. If we are a little angry with someone, we are resentful, it's okay, that is our imperfection. But when we think that anger is good, then there is destruction. Righteous anger is extremely rare. For example, rapers break into your house, and there is righteous anger inside you. You can protect your family, you can protect your spiritual master or your friend, or just some woman in the street if she is attacked. Can you apply force and kill? The scriptures allow it. If someone tries to kill you and you kill in self-protection, that is not a sin. That is a right deed. Moreover, the Vedas say that if a person dies in a right fight, he is immediately purified and he goes up like a saint. We have examples of Alexander Nevsky, for example, he became a saint. I told you that I take no sides, but that does not mean that I disrespect our government. I respect our men at power, but no, when sins are accumulated, sometimes people with power have no choice what to do. And it is the same on the opposite side. The situation is extremely restricted, and there is a conflict because there is no choice. It is often a dead end, so there is no need to hate anyone. It is senseless. How is life destroyed with anger? It all goes upside down. It's mayhem. For example, you can get a really bad quarrel and then you stand on principle, and relationships may be over with this forever. Anger cuts the knot and leaves no trace. Resentment does the same. And this feeling, I was offended, I cannot build relationships, that is not an excuse. If you are offended, that is your egoism. You pray, you forgive, you ask for forgiveness, and you continue relationships. Resentment is laziness of your soul. And if you continue like this, your life will be destroyed, and whose fault will it be? Your soul must not be idle. You must forgive and ask for forgiveness, and you must work on your relationships. The clouds look into the river, and so do I. And suddenly, a hand of my beloved one takes my hand. What has happened to you, my dear friend? Maybe it's my fault, but you cannot be silent, stubbornly silent like this for an hour and more. This is how it works. You take steps. Next, the third enemy appears when a person misunderstands what happiness is very badly. When the person is not used to self-improvement and inner life, he cannot get this happiness from his heart and tie these knots. He does not want to have inner life, but love must go somewhere. You must love someone. A person cannot live without love. And so naturally, he gets attached to some objects that are stable and that are natural desires. It can be a house, or an apartment, a car, or something like that. I cannot name it all. It's different for everyone. Why do we need these things? It comes as an mirage, as a feeling that this is what is going to help in our life from all the problems. We feel that this apartment is going to be so great and there will be no more problems. That's an illusion. The third enemy is greed. Let's see how it destroys life. Each person has a certain piety in his fate, and his piety is distributed. There is some happiness in health, there is some in leisure, some happiness in friendship and in family, some comes from children, some happiness from food, some from spiritual development. There is happiness in self-improvement. Happiness comes from cultural places and programs. And there is happiness in wealth. But if a person decides that all his happiness is in wealth, it is all there. What happens next? In order to make it true, he needs to redistribute his piety. By fate, he has this much piety for wealth, but he wants more. That means that he takes it and he does it with labor. It's an austerity. He performs austerities and he robs relationships with his wife because he has no strength on it. He works all the time. He has no time for vacation. He needs to work. Then he ruins his health because you are exhausted. You do not eat well and calmly. You have no time. You need to work. You have no time for your children. You need to buy a house. Then no time for friends and no strength. And what happens to life?
Один дом и
just the
все.
house and nothing more.
Остальное
And all the rest
постепенно
gradually
разрушается.
is destroyed.
Причем интересно знать, что
It's
все в
interesting
основном
that
терпит.
everyone and
пока человек не
everything else
получает дом.
waits until there is
Когда он
the house.
получает, жена
And then
вспоминает, сколько она
the
ждала
wife
любви.
remembers how long she's
Дети
been waiting for
остаются
love.
невоспитанными.
The
Здоровье
children are
еле-еле трещит. То есть
ill-mannered.
человек пока цели не
The
достигнет,
health
он будет
is
держаться
barely
до
there.
последнего. Понимаете, когда дом
Such
получил,
person waits till the
здоровья нет,
last
жена
to get the
уходит из
house.
дома,
And
дети,
then no health,
не хочу назвать кто,
the wife leaves,
вот,
the children
и так
are
далее.
can be called properly,
И все летит кверх дом у
and
человека.
everything
И он в
goes
одном доме,
upside
этот один
down,
остается.
and he is left alone in his
Это
house.
называется жадность.
That is
Жадность,
greed.
она разрушает
It
жизнь
destroys
через потерю
life
свободного
with
времени и сил.
loss
Она
of
забирает
free
человека времени
time
и
and
силы, время
strength.
и силы, время и
No
силы.
time, no
И
strength.
посильней стучи,
And you
стучи,
work
стучи,
harder,
стучи,
harder.
пум-пум-пум.
We were born to make the fairy tale come true, to overcome time and space. And there's an engine for our heart.
Система ясна?
Is it clear?
Почувствовали, да?
Can you
Как
feel
враг
how
поселился в
an
вашем
enemy
сердце?
gets into your heart?
Как вы упахиваете каждый
You
день,
work too
и жизнь
hard
уже не мила,
daily,
а
and
причина,
life is no
потому что вы
joy.
неправильно поставили
And
цель
the
жизни.
reason is that your goal is wrong.
Жадность — это вот эта вот голубая мечта.
Greed is that dream
Но
of
сейчас все
yours.
проще происходит.
But now it's easier.
Ведь не надо работать,
You
чтобы
do not
попасть
have to
в эту
work
квартиру.
to get an apartment.
Надо просто
You must
войти в иллюзию.
get into an illusion.
Вот тебе ключи от квартиры.
Here are the keys to your apartment.
Ипотека.
You take a loan.
Называется рабство.
It is called slavery.
Человек попадает в рабство при
A
жизни.
person is enslaved in life.
Вот столько всего. Ты же
Just
не
count
можешь
it.
тебе вот столько денег отдавать.
Can you give this much money monthly to live in this apartment?
Ерунда.
Of course I can. That is nothing. Everyone works, we are all healthy. But he does not know what is going to happen in 5 years. If he is still going to be healthy and working, if there is going to be a crisis in the country, because when there are financial crises, the banks stay fine, but you suffer of it, and you are going to give away more than you earn. You do not know that credit means that you will pay with what you have. You will be left with nothing, and if not, you will go to a jail. Who is in this situation already? Don't be afraid, raise your hands. Thank you. It is for the benefit of everyone. And when I was in Riga, many people raised their hands, because it all depends on the situation in the country. If there is a financial crisis, only those with credit suffer. Banks are fine. It is called illusion. It is the fourth enemy of a person. A bird of tomorrow's happiness flew on its wings. Please choose me. Please choose me. The bird of tomorrow's happiness. What's wrong with credit? You pay for your apartment and not for some rented one, and in 20 years it is yours. You are mistaken. Are you sure it is going to be like that? The bird of tomorrow's happiness. It came with an apartment. Please choose me. Please choose me. My tomorrow's credit. Be careful. You do not know if you can return the credit. If you've already paid for it, then stay quiet. If you say this, you are ready to have more. Be satisfied and cross yourself, because I saw many people who did not. They cry bitterly. Dr. Torsunov, please help me. It's jail next. I saw many people, many eyes, not just yours. You cross yourself and don't boast. Should you have gotten ill or should there have been a crisis, what would have happened to your life? Get out of your illusion. You are deceived. If you paid it back, then you paid 2 times more than needed. And there is more. I do not own an apartment, and I am fine. There are no problems in life. Do you rent? Of course. But what if you get ill and you have no money to pay for your apartment? Are you speaking about me or you? Me or you? It all depends on the person. You cannot equal with me now. My mother asks me about my pension. I'm going to tell you what is going to happen next, right now. If I am jobless, who will hire me? Raise your hands. Here it is. And now, an even more confidential question. Be honest. Who is willing to give me a place to live? You see that? I'm talking about myself, so I do not care about my apartment, but you should. This is a different matter, but it is sophisticated, so you are pinged. Why other emotions? Because you have it in your heart. Listen to me attentively, please. It works like this. In this world, a person can get happiness from things he deserves by his fate. That is the law that you must study. For example, if a person has a very small apartment, then he must learn to be satisfied. Once he is calm, he accumulates, and credit is also accumulating. For example, you took a credit. That means that you had a bigger apartment and you paid 2 times more money. Anyway, you paid for it. But now, if you just collect money, then in a year you can have a bit bigger apartment, and in the end you will pay 2 times less and with no effort. Because when you can't work, you don't. When you can, you do. You do not have to pay interest. When a person lives on his money, on what he earns, then God is happy in his heart. But you must restrain your desires. That is the law. Greed is uncontrollable desires. It is always the same. For example, why does a person suffer when he eats too much before sleep? Ayurveda, the science of life, it is an ancient Vedic medicine, says that the most dangerous thing that shortens your life is overeating before sleep. And the person does it because he does not give love during the day. And as there was no exchange in the evening, he needs to get energy of love, and he does it with food or a hockey game, but he needs to get love. And either he will watch TV till late night, or he will gorge on food. If there is no one to have sex with, or it's just too late. Greed leads to destruction. A person who eats before sleep cannot get up early in the morning. He did not give his energy of love. And illusion is when you confuse happiness and unhappiness. It's curious. Am I happy that I live in someone else's apartment? Is it more convenient? Why am I not bothered by this? Why am I sure of tomorrow? You don't know. Here is a question for you. Whose food is tastier? A poor man's who eats bread and milk, or a rich man's who eats in a fancy restaurant? Whose food is tastier? Of course it's the same, because the poor man, if he is hungry, he eats bread with such pleasure, it is so tasty for him. And the rich man can have some dishes at that restaurant day after day, but he has no taste for it, and he cannot enjoy it really, it is all empty for him. But a hungry poor man eats with such appetite. Then whose food is tastier, and who lives better? The one with a big house or a small one? People in big houses live in separate rooms and they have no relationships. And in small houses there are always relationships between inhabitants. Just imagine, you have a big apartment and everyone lives apart, you see no one. And in a small one, everyone's together. Raise your hands, those who have a big family in a small apartment and there are good relationships. These people understand me. Is it great? Yes, they love each other. We can hardly imagine what kind of rich people there are. I know one man. When we have 5 sapphires in some jewelry shop, there is armed guards, but he has a huge safe with gems and even more at home. He is extremely wealthy. He is an Indian. His house, there are 5 families living in it, all relatives. And I asked him, why don't you get a separate house for your children? You have enough money. And he asked, are you cursing me? I see my children and grandchildren every day. I love them all. And that way I will only see him once a week. I want them all to be close. And they want it too. Think about it, think about it. I will take you far away, and we will live happily in a hut, but be merciful and become my wife. This is different kind of thinking. I also want my house, but I have higher goals. I give my money away to higher goals that make me 1,000 times more happy. We are now building a Vedic center for people to come and to listen to lectures. There are higher goals, and it is better to spend money on it. Everyone will be happier, me included. I do not mind having your own home, but there are higher goals. I know people who won't live in their own homes. They are renounced. But any family man eventually needs his home, but it should be small, because there is destruction in a small home. Consciousness is destructed. When people live apart, there is no warmness. There is a Vedic community in Hungary. I know them. There are 150 people there, and here is how they live. They are all amazing, so pure and bright, and they have small houses. It's probably 60 square meters, 2 or 3 small rooms. When I entered, I said, there is no room to move around. And we don't move here. There is a big Vedic center, we work and associate there, and we just sleep here. But we live over there. We associate there, and we work, and we pray together. Why would we be at homes? That is completely different consciousness. We are not used to living like this. We have no happiness of relationships. We want to be at home and watch Dad Don't Sweat. But they will never sweat, but we should watch something. I'm giving you an example of another life. It is not like you should live like that, but you can think differently. But most importantly, you should understand the point. A person is satisfied with the things he is used to, and sometimes it is better to get used to something than to make your standards of life too high. You should get used to something than to make your standards too high. What is given by God is 1,000 times sweeter. Here is what I mean. How much money do you need to build a small house in a village? You just think so. You do not know how it can be constructed. My friends built themselves houses for 200,000 or 300,000 rubles. Simple technologies, clay and cow dough and some hay, and there are simple houses. And when they are natural houses, it is so great there. There is God's grace. It is so homey. It's like you are in the nature. I do not know your technologies, because here there is a lot of wood. I know in Irkutsk a friend of mine builds of wood, but it depends on what you want. If you want something cool, then yes, you must work hard and invest. But if you want to simply live, build yourself a house and you will have a place, and when you have more money, you can make it prettier. I'm telling you about thinking that allows you not to work too hard and not to have problems afterwards. But you cannot understand it, because greed destroys people. That is our enemy, and it infiltrates our brain. We've been brainwashed. People used to live simpler and better, and they did not have to work so much, because rules of life were different interests. It all depends on how we think. Our thinking defines our life. We can work all day long and think that is life. There is a story in Vedas about greed. That is a story how power was generated in ancient times. It is easy. There are animals born in animal bodies because of their greed. For example, an ass.
Классический пример.
It's a classic
Он
example.
очень упрямое и жадное животное.
Asses are very stubborn and greedy. You cannot just make it work. But if you study its character, you can make it work all day long very well.
Ослу надо к чему-то стремиться, понимаете?
An
Для того,
ass
чтобы
needs
ему
a goal,
стремиться к самому
and
лучшему, а самое
the
лучшее для него
best
секс.
things for it are sex and food.
Поэтому есть два
There are
варианта,
two
как
ways
сделать
to
так, чтобы
make
ослы
asses
постоянно крутили воду,
constantly
и
go
вода
round
шла.
in circle
В тот
to
день никакого
pump
не
water.
нужно было электричества, чтобы
Electricity
высасывать
was
воду.
not required
Достаточно
in
иметь
ancient
было
times.
ослицу,
It
которая
was
стоит
enough to
впереди,
have a she-ass
и
and
осла, который
an
закрепляется с
ass
ней на одном
harnessed behind
приводе.
her.
И осел, так как он
And
хочет секса,
the
он бежит к
donkey,
ослице и
wanting
крутит
sex,
привод.
ran forward
Целый день
and
идет вода.
pumped water
Он
all
бежит
day.
вперед, чтобы добежать
It
до
ran
ослицы.
forward
Но
to
как бы
reach
система так не
the
устроена,
she-ass,
чтобы он добежал.
but he couldn't.
Если ослицы нет,
And
то есть другой
the
способ.
second way
Берется
is
такая удочка и
to
привязывается
take
морковка
a
спереди.
big
Так, чтобы
stick
если он
like
сделал
a
рывок,
fishing
она
rod
прямо подходила почти
and
к рту.
hang a carrot in
И он
front
рывками
of
вот так вот
the
бежит,
ass's
пытается морковку раскачать,
head.
чтобы попала в рот.
And it runs all
Целый
day
день крутит
trying to
воду.
reach that carrot.
Вода вытекает, все.
And it's okay, there is water running. You do not need to threat a greedy person. Just show him a coin and you can do anything to him. Banks earn good money. Please hear my words.
Почему такая
Why is the
оживленность?
audience so alive suddenly?
Гнев — это не наш враг.
Anger is not our enemy.
Наш враг — это
Our
жадность
enemy is greed
и иллюзия.
and illusion.
Мы рождены, чтоб сказку сделать.
We were born to make the fairy tale come true, to overcome time and space.
У нас все как бы в этом пропитано.
We are saturated with this.
Будьте осторожны.
Be careful.
Враги — это те, кто не
Enemies
защищает людей. Они
have
убивают.
no mercy. They kill.
Когда жадность входит в жизнь, если
When
условно
there
жадность,
is greed,
у меня целая лекция по жадности есть.
I have a whole lecture about greed. Here are the stages.
Первая стадия
The first stage
счастливый горизонт.
is
Свет описывает
happy
стадию
horizons.
развития жизни
The Vedas
человека,
explain
который попал
all
под влияние
stages
этого врага.
of
Первая
life
стадия
under
счастливый
influence of
горизонт.
greed.
Мы рождены, чтоб сказку
Firstly,
сделать. Наш паровоз
there is
вперед.
a happy horizon.
Первая
You
стадия счастливый
expect
горизонт.
a good
Вторая
future.
стадия. И посильнее
Stage two.
стучи, стучи,
And
стучи,
you must
стучи.
work
Работа,
harder,
тяжелый
harder.
труд. Вторая стадия
You work
жадности.
and work.
Третья стадия жадности.
Stage 3.
Какая?
What is that?
Перенапряжение.
Overdrive.
Человек чувствует, устает.
A person is tired.
Первая
Stage
стадия.
1.
Пора, порадуемся
I'm
на
so
своем
happy in
веку.
my life.
Первая стадия.
That is
Вторая.
stage 1. Stage
20
2.
лет спустя.
20 years later.
Сколь дней осталось,
How many days are there left? How can I get rid of my weariness?
20 лет спустя.
20 years later.
Усталость, мои хорошие.
There is fatigue.
Третья стадия — это
Stage
усталость.
3 is fatigue.
Люди, которые подвержены жадности, они думают, что
People
они вечно смогут
who are greedy, they think they can work hard
с
forever,
возрастом возможности
but
тают.
with age,
Сначала
we cannot.
человек перенапрягается,
First, there is too much tension, overdrive, then there is
усталость — это предвестник
exhaustion,
того, что он заканчивает с этим совсем.
and that means
А
that
если
it's time
невозможно
to
заканчивать,
finish.
если жадность
If you
вместе с
can't,
иллюзией смешалась,
If there are
Или
both
попал в
greed
рабство,
and illusion, you
то
are
это тогда,
enslaved,
значит, будет четвертая стадия,
then there
называется
will be
надлом.
stage
А
4,
эта четвертая стадия,
a
она
breakdown,
имеет свои
and
проявления.
it has its signs.
Суставы отказали,
Your
позвоночник
joints and
отказал,
spines fail you,
опухоль злокачественная
there
начала
is a
развиваться и
tumor,
так далее.
and
Признак
other.
перегрузки организма
That
сильный.
means you
Изношенность.
overloaded your body, exhausted it.
И пятая стадия — это
And stage 5, what is it? No, it is not the case of diarrhea, convulsions, and death. That's not it. Stage 5 is disappointment, stress. Greed leads to stress. All enemies do it eventually. And if it did not come to stress, then be relieved and tell no one about it. We do not need these examples in our life. Let people live with their money happily, without exhaustion. Just live calmly. The only thing you should do is get used to what you have and be happy like that. For example, here is your wife. She has this much, and this is yours. Be happy with it. No more is needed, or there will be destruction, and you will cry bitterly. Please, take no more. No loans. Be happy with as much as you have. Be satisfied with what God gives you. Can you hear me? And a person lives happily like that, because greed, when I dream about something more, then dissatisfaction is accumulated inside and it causes overeating. Excess weight comes from greed. A person is not dissatisfied and he has to eat and eat more to calm down. Quality goes into quantity. You shouldn't. You should learn to serve and be satisfied with what you have. How can I explain it to you? I feel that you do not understand. How do you think? What food is tastier, cucumbers or pies? If you eat cucumbers, after some time you will think that they are extremely tasty. And if you eat pies, it's the same. It all depends on what you think about it. One person can be extremely happy with a small apartment that is clean and where there is prayer. He comes back home, but his life is with his friends. You do not have to play football in your apartment. And another person is happy in a bigger apartment, but it does not mean that the first person has less happiness. It depends on your level of satisfaction. One man can be happy with a woman who is in a wheelchair, and another cannot be happy even with a beautiful wife who can give him anything. It all depends on your readiness to accept your fate. A happy person is the one who accepts his fate. For example, I like simple food. I like salads, vegetables, baked or stewed, the ones that are more fresh. In many years, I understood that this is the most healthy food. The more we treat our food, different pies, it all gives us illnesses. But raw salads and baked vegetables give health and happiness and are very tasty. Simple milk. It is all simple. This is the healthiest food. Simple life. My friends build houses of clay and hay. You cannot imagine how well you rest in these houses. It's not a joke. Try and enter such a hut and just spend 5 minutes there. You will feel so peaceful and light, so rested. And it costs very little, but it is very hard to make yourself live like this. I'm not going to tell you how much happiness gives pouring cold water onto yourself in the air. I understand this climate is too cold for this, but I'm just telling you this. Try it in the summer. Stand on the grass and pour cold water onto you, and you will feel happiness. I'm going to get off a train on a distant station, and the grass is wayside there, and the train will leave without me and vanish in city's noise. It is all mine here, and we came from here. Have you forgotten this feeling? Remember it. It all comes from simplicity. When you live a simple life, you feel each second. What is given by nature is the sweetest. Very rich people with many possibilities only wish to have a good house in the nature, but when a person does it with no wealth, gets the same at a lower price. Raise your hands with those who live like this. Some of you live in a simple house and don't work too much. Here is a young man. All the questions to him, and we move on. He will tell you. I live like this also. The next terrible force, the last two enemies are the angriest and most dangerous. Last is a sweet poison. Anger, you can defeat it. Greed is more difficult, you will have to work all your life. Illusion is scary, these are casinos, alcohol, and all your dreams about something distant, all these loans, that's dangerous. Wrong idea of happiness when a person is in this situation and he is bad with all this information, different movies. There is a whole industry to put people in this state of mind, to make them work all their life. It was simpler before. There's a carrot in front and you go and work. The next enemy is more dangerous, even more. When a person has a wrong idea of happiness, but someone else achieves it, that is envy. That is scary. The Vedas say that you can use lust to serve God. You can fall in love, have a family, and conceive children with your wife lawfully for God. There is righteous anger to protect your family and your motherland. You can also use greed for God. You earn more money and you donate them to the temple. Illusion can also be used for God. You can be in illusion and believe in something wrong, but it will be corrected in time. At first, people get fanatic, but then they sober up in development, in spiritual practice. But you cannot use envy to serve God. That's a curse. The Vedas say, when a person envies someone, he is cursed. You do not have to curse anyone.
Вот если ты, допустим,
For
врач,
example,
какому-то врачу
if you are
позавидовал,
a doctor and
это
you
значит,
envy
что твое
some
развитие как
other
врача, до
doctor,
свидания.
that
Всё.
means that you
Ты не
can
можешь
develop
развиваться, пока
no
завидуешь.
longer.
Если, допустим, твоя
Or
подружка вышла замуж,
if
а ты
your
позавидовала
friend
ей,
got
что у нее
married and
хороший
you
муж,
are
до
jealous of
свидания,
her,
твое
of her
замужество.
good husband,
Бог страшно не
you
любит
can
зависть вообще, Он просто не
say
любит
goodbye
сердце
to your
зависти.
getting married. God hates envy.
Если ты позавидовал
If
деньгам,
you are
знакомству,
jealous of
будешь без
someone
денег.
else's money, you will be left
Все,
penniless.
кто завидуют, лишаются возможностей.
People
Это проклятие.
who envy
Не надо,
have no
не надо, чтобы тебя
opportunities.
кто-то проклял.
That is a
Просто кому
curse.
позавидуй всю жизнь.
If you envy
будет
someone,
разрушено в твоей
you do
жизни.
not have to be cursed by
Надо
anyone. You do it
благословлять,
yourself.
наоборот.
You must
Кого-то
bless instead.
подружки
Your friend
хороший муж появился,
got a nice
пусть она
husband.
будет счастлива.
Wish her
Я
happiness.
так рада за тебя.
I am so happy
Врач
for
какой-то
you.
достиг успеха.
Or a doctor
Пусть
reached
она будет еще
some
больше счастлива.
success.
Он такой молодец.
Wish him more
Я
success.
его ничто
He
по
is so
сравнению с ним.
nice. I'm nothing compared to him.
У кого-то больше денег,
Someone has
слава
more
Богу,
money.
хорошо.
Thank God. That's good.
В ипотеке квартиру
You
получил.
took a credit and now you have an apartment. Great for you.
Что ничего
Thank
не
God.
случилось плохого.
It all worked out and it's fine now.
Не надо завидовать никому.
Don't be envious.
Понятная система, да?
Is that clear?
Зависть — это страшная сила.
Envy is dangerous.
И последний враг человека
And
— это
the
враг, который
latest
приходит
enemy
из прошлого. Он вообще не
comes
спрашивает
from the
нас
past and
ничего. Враг
it
называется безумие.
does not ask our
Человек может с
permission.
ума сойти,
It is madness.
может
A person can
покалечиться
go
так, что он
crazy
перестанет соображать.
or he
Это всё
can
результат
get
прошлых
injured
поступков.
and
Если человек
become
жестоко с кем-то
disabled.
обращался и не раскаялся за
It
это,
comes from the
он
past.
получит
If
контакт с этим врагом.
the person
Безумие также
was cruel
означает
in past life, then
жестокая
he is
судьба.
punished like
Когда
this.
человека бросают ни за что в
Madness
тюрьму,
is also
когда человека
cruel fate
жестоко
when
с
a
ним
person
обращаются в
is
жизни
thrown
вообще.
into prison
Он
for
тверд от
nothing.
этой жестокости, становится
He
как
gets dumb
безумец.
because of
У
this
него глаза
cruelty.
квадратными становятся.
He
Это
is like a
результат его
madman,
прошлых поступков.
and that is caused by the
Итак, вот
past
эти 6
deeds.
сил вызывают стресс.
These 6 enemies cause
Безумие
stress.
приходит с прошлой жизни, да.
Madness
Если
comes
жестоко
from the
кому-то
past
и не
life.
раскаялся, значит,
If
над
you
тобой
were
тоже
cruel
будет
to
жестокость
someone and not repentant,
в будущем,
that means
когда придет время.
you will experience it in the future
Тюрьма
also.
тоже с прошлой жизни.
Prison
Насколько будет?
can come
А?
from the past
Плен
or
тоже
this
это
life,
результат
and
безумия, вот этой энергии
imprisonment,
безумия.
it is also this energy of madness.
Как есть
Like
от
this
тюрьмы,
expression,
от сумы,
you can never tell if you are not going to be
ничего не сделать.
a
Счета,
beggar or a prisoner.
Теперь у меня вопрос, а почему
Here is a question.
возникает стресс-то? Ну ладно,
Why
там
does stress
избавился от
come?
жадности, все хорошо,
Well, okay, I
избавился
have
от
no more
вожделения,
greed
все
now,
нормально, я
no more
раскаялся,
lust,
стресс
I am
прошел.
repentant,
Почему это
stress is
стрессовая реакция
gone.
называется? А
That
почему
is
стресс
stress
там много лет
reaction.
возникает? В чем причина?
But why is there stress
А
for
потому
many
что
years?
это может быть как экзамен,
Because
который
it
надо
can
сдать, и
be
все пройдет.
an
А
exam
может
that
быть
I
просто
pass
как
and it's
повод для
fine,
того, чтобы нас
or
поменять.
it can be
Всё
a
зависит от
way
того,
to
чего
change
Бог хочет.
us.
Если
It
Он хочет
depends
вообще,
on
чтобы
what
мы
God
поменялись
wants from
очень
us.
сильно,
If He
тогда
wants
я
us to
вроде уже
change
не жадничаю,
substantially,
всё
then
нормально, а
I'm
стресс
greedy no
продолжается.
more, but still there
Это
is
значит,
stress.
что от вас
That
Бог
means
ждет чего-то
that
большего.
God expects
Ждет
more from
перемен
you.
каких-то веры,
He
от вас ждет
expects more
духовной жизни,
changes,
духовной
faith,
практики.
spiritual life.
Просто вот этот принцип поймите, что счастье
Just
в
know
сердце
this
приходит всегда от
point.
Бога.
Happiness comes into
Веда
our
объясняет,
heart
что
from
сверхдуша
God.
посылает вот
The
это
Vedas
счастье.
explain
Вот, допустим, у
that
меня
the
сегодня
super
плохое
soul
настроение,
sends this
означает, меньше
happiness.
посылается
For
счастье.
example, I'm
Хорошее
in a bad
настроение
mood
больше
today. That
посылает
means
счастье.
I receive
А
less
если стресс
happiness.
идет, значит вообще не
But if
посылается.
there is stress, you receive no
Если вы начали
happiness at
служить
all.
Богу, то все начинает
If you
посылаться.
start to serve
Просто
God,
поймите этот
then there is
принцип и
happiness
все.
again.
И
Just
сразу
know
все
how
будет
this
легко и
works,
понятно.
and it will be easy for you.
Вот у кого сейчас стресс такой,
Who
что
is
жить
stressed
невозможно?
now that you can barely live?
Ну вставайте, дайте
Get up
микрофончик
now.
девушке.
Pass the microphone, please.
Не бойтесь ничего, вставайте.
Don't be scared, get up, I'm not going to hurt
Я
you.
эту тетю обижал, потому что она сильная.
I hurt that lady because she is strong. She can hurt anyone herself.
А вы слабенькая, я с вами
But you
нежно
are
буду.
gentle, and I will be gentle with you.
Ага. Спасибо вам большое, что
Thank you very much for coming here.
Знаете, когда человека тяжело
When a heavy fate comes in a person's life,
она через
it
боль
gives
приковывает
pain
к себе
and
человека.
so
Вот ему
gets
больно,
all
и
attention to
теряется
itself.
возможность о чем-то вообще
There is
думать,
pain,
кроме о
and you
том,
can
что
think of
происходит,
nothing else
вызывает
than
боль. И
what is
человек,
going
когда
on and
сильно-сильно в
causes
эту боль
pain.
заходит, сильно к ней
And when the person
приковывается,
is
то
very
это как
focused on
замкнутый
this
круг,
pain,
понимаете,
it's like
который
a
вообще не найти выхода. И
circle
почему так?
with no
Потому
way
что
out,
человек через силу
because
должен в этом состоянии
the
себя
person
заставить
must
молиться, заставить
make
думать о
himself
высшей силе, о
pray.
Боге.
He must
И
make an
тогда
effort,
он
think of
отвлекается
God
от
and higher
себя,
forces,
начинает служить
and then he is
святости и
distracted from
выходит из
himself.
стресса.
He serves
Вот вы
holiness
можете
and
сейчас
he
начать
gets out of
молитву,
stress.
перестать думать
Can
о
you
том,
start
что у вас
praying
стресс?
now and stop thinking
давайте
about your
попробуем.
stress? I can try.
А в чем проблема?
What's the problem? I tried it, but these thoughts are too
Я
strong.
понимаю.
I
Они
understand it.
тяжелые, и они вас
They are
приковывают к себе,
heavy
потому
and
что
they
больно внутри,
draw your
больно,
attention
понимаете?
because there
Это
is
боль
pain
заставляет
inside.
так жить. Боль, она приковывает к себе и
Pain
не дает
gets
возможности
attention and
сосредоточиться на
does not
главном.
allow to focus on the
Знаете, когда
main
два
thing.
воина сражаются,
When
там не надо
two
никого
warriors
убивать.
fight, there is no need to kill.
Надо, чтобы один
One
из двух
warrior
воинов
must
другому
hurt
сделал
another.
больно. И все.
And that's it.
Теряется концентрация, дальше
Focus
уже
is
не надо
lost
всё это
and
делать, нет проблем его
there is
уничтожить.
no problem to
Чуть-чуть
destroy
больно.
him.
Или
Just a bit pain,
психически, или физически.
psychically or
Есть психическая
physically.
боль, есть физическая, поэтому
And so
воины
warriors
тренируются
are trained
не обращать внимания на боль.
to
Вот,
ignore
допустим,
pain.
палец отрубило,
For
он дальше
example,
сражается
a
спокойно,
finger
знает, если он
was
обратит
chopped
внимание,
off,
всё, он
and
умрет вообще.
if the warrior thinks about it, he's dead.
Вам надо научиться думать
You
о
must
Боге,
learn to
молиться,
think about
желать
God.
всем счастья, отвлечься
You
от
must
себя.
pray and
Как
wish
только
everyone
человек
happiness. You
отвлекается от
must
себя, он сразу
be
выходит из
distracted
стресса.
from
Всё,
yourself.
сразу стресс.
Once
Вы
you
сейчас
did,
хотите,
there
чтобы
is no more
проблема
stress.
разрешилась,
But
поэтому
now you
думайте
want
об
to
этом.
solve your
Единственный
problem and
способ её
think about
разрешить
it.
— это
But the only
отвлечься от
way
себя
to
с
do it
помощью
is
святости
to
и
get
начать жить
distracted
для
from
других.
yourself,
Вот что вы можете
think
для
of
этого
holiness
сделать?
and serve others.
Расскажите.
Tell me what you can do for other people.
Можете о детях заботиться, да?
You can
Видите,
take
Бог
care
какой
about
милостив, вам дал
children.
такую работу.
God is merciful.
Вы
He
сейчас о
gave you
них
such a
думаете,
nice
с ними
job.
работаете, или как во сне все
Do you
происходит?
think about children or you live like in a dream? Be honest.
Нет, я говорю, сейчас вы в
I
стрессе
mean, right
находитесь,
now
вы
you are
сейчас
stressed.
о них думаете, о
And do
их
you think
жизни,
about them,
вот
about
обращаете
their
на них внимание,
lives,
или просто работаете и
or
все.
do you just work unthinkingly?
Стресс не
Stress
всю
did
вашу
not
жизнь
consume your whole life.
То есть стресс начинается, когда вы домой
Your
приходите.
stress
На
starts
работе
when
нет
you come
стресса.
back home.
Вам легче
At
сейчас на
work
работе.
you're fine.
Легче на работе, чем дома. Хочется на
You
работу.
want to go to work.
Значит, дома вы
That
занимаетесь
means
не
you
тем, чем
do
надо.
wrong things at home.
Начните там служить дома.
Start to serve at home and your stress will be
Там вы
over.
делаете доброе дело, там нет стресса.
You do something good at
дома
work and
поставите
there is no
алтарик и
stress.
начните там
Now
читать
get an
молитву, думать о
altar
Боге,
at home, start to
песнопения,
pray,
включите какие-то духовные.
play
И всё, и стресса в
spiritual
доме тоже не
music,
будет. Всё, стресс
and
до
you will be
свидания.
fine at home.
Ему негде будет деться,
There
некуда
will be
будет
no
деться.
place for stress.
Мысли о своем
You will
несчастье
have
некогда
no
будет
time
думать
to
просто,
think
и всё.
about
И вы
your
победите себя в
misery,
результате.
and
Когда
then
человеку
you
некогда
will
думать о
have
несчастье,
defeated your
наступает
stress.
счастье.
No time for misfortune and you are happy.
Какая проблема-то у вас?
What's the problem?
Нет, когда стресс, есть только одна проблема.
When you are stressed, there
Когда
is only
стресс,
one
человек в стрессе,
problem.
есть только одна проблема. Если их много, то
If
нет
there
никакого
are
стресса.
more problems, that is
Только
not stress.
одна.
Only
Тогда
one
стресс.
problem, that is stress.
Согласны со мной?
Do you agree with me?
Рубит человека только одна.
Only one
Близкий человек
thing
из жизни
knocks
ушел,
you down.
ребенок заболел,
Some relative died,
работы
your
нет,
child is
в тюрьму
sick, you have
попал.
no job,
Одна только
you
проблема.
got
Это давно это
arrested.
не стресс, это
One
просто
major
жизнь.
problem. When there are many, that is normal life.
Бывает две, но это редко. Бывает
Sometimes
сразу
there are
две сильно
two
бьют человека. Бывает
very
такое, но
strong
редко. В основном
problems, but
одна.
it is rare. There is one problem, and the second is that my health is worsening.
У вас здоровье плохое.
Your health is bad,
Из-за этого, да, проблема.
and that's the problem. That ruins my attitude and
Я
thoughts.
знаю вашу проблему.
I know your problem.
А я вам сейчас скажу.
I'm going to
Я вам
tell
щас
it
скажу.
to you.
И все, и сразу все станет понятно.
And everything will be clear.
Так все
You'll
сложно.
know what to do. It's simple, quite.
Я увидел ее, вашу проблему.
I saw it, your problem.
Проблема заключается в том,
It is
что вы
that
рассчитывали на другую жизнь.
you expected a different life.
Не поняли?
You didn't get it?
Вы хотели другой жизни.
You wanted to have a different life.
Вот то, что вам сейчас Бог дает, вас
What
это всё
God
не
gives you
устраивает.
now, you are not satisfied with
Вы
it.
рассчитывали на другую жизнь.
You expected different life. I've been given much, in fact.
Ну тогда вы не в стрессе.
Then you are not stressed. You mean my relationships with parents?
Да, вы рассчитывали
Yes,
на другие
you
отношения.
expected different
Это глобально
relationships,
все вместе, когда взять,
and
это ваш
when you
стресс.
take it all
есть вы
together, that
надеялись
is
на
your
другое.
stress. You expected something different.
Человек в палате лежит в
A
реанимации.
person is in an ICU.
Врач приходит,
A doctor
и
comes,
он спрашивает врача:
and the patient asks,
доктор, я
Doctor,
могу на
is there
что-то
hope?
надеяться? Посмотрел на
Well,
него, смотря
it
на что он
depends
будет
on what you
надеяться.
hope for.
Понимаете, о чем я говорю?
You see what I'm saying?
Если не на то надеяться,
If
то
you
тогда
have
смерть.
wrong hopes, then
Надо
you
надеяться на
die.
что-то другое.
You must hope for something different.
Понятно, да, система?
Lower
Уменьшите
your
стандарты своих желаний.
expectations.
Поскромнее к жизни
Be more
относитесь,
modest
сразу
in
вам
life, and it will be easier at once.
Хорошо, договорились. Пускай
Good.
родители будут такими, как они есть. Не
Accept your
рассчитывайте на
parents as they are.
лучшее. Примите их такими,
Hope
как они
for
есть.
no more.
Это вы специально
Did
руку
you
подняли,
raise your
чтобы
hands on
мне вопрос
purpose
задать?
to
Это
ask me
ваша
a
хитрость, что ли,
question?
или
Was
что?
that a trick?
Ну ладно.
Okay.
На самом деле я вам сейчас расскажу, как устроен
I'm going to tell you how male and female intelligence works.
У женщины есть
There
удивительная
is
склонность,
an
свойство
amazing quality
разума.
of
Женщина,
female
она
intelligence.
живет сердцем,
A woman
имеет
lives
разум.
with her
У
heart.
мужчины разум имеет силу, но не
Male
имеет
intelligence
чистоты.
is
У
strong
женщины
but
разум имеет
impure,
чистоту,
and
но не
female
имеет силы.
is pure
И
but
поэтому
not
женщине
strong.
очень важно
It is important
от
for a
старшего
woman
получить
to
совет.
get advice from her senior.
Женщине очень важно получить совет от старшего.
It is very important for her.
И она с верой, когда принимает
And
совет,
when she
её жизнь
accepts
меняется сразу.
advice with belief,
Поэтому
her
женщине
life
очень
changes
важно
for
общаться.
better immediately.
Женщине
So
очень важно,
association
чтобы
is
жить правильно.
extremely important
Женщины
for
имеют
women.
коллективное мышление.
Women
Важно
think
общаться друг с другом,
collectively.
чтобы поддерживать стабильность
They
жизни.
associate
А
to
мужчины
have a
имеют
stable life.
индивидуальное общение.
And
Даже
men
вот
are
если взять женщин и
individual.
мужчин, знаете, как они
Men
по-разному
and
слушают
women
лекции?
listen
Вот
to
женщины, знаете,
lectures
как
very
слушают лекции?
differently
Они
also.
слушают вот так.
Women listen like this.
Они все впитывают.
They
И важно
absorb
верить. Когда они
everything.
верят,
They
они получают
believe.
силу.
When they do, they
А
have
мужчины все вот так
strength.
слушают.
And men listen like this.
Им важно разобраться.
They must
Мужчина,
make
когда
sense of it all,
разбирается во всем, он получает
and
силу. Чувствуете
then there is
разницу какая?
strength.
Мужчине
There is a great
надо обломаться
difference.
самому.
A man must check everything himself, he must experience it, and then he is strong. But the more a woman believes, the better she understands everything and lives. And women like to ask questions to make sense of everything. But there are so many of you in this audience, and just me. 6 enemies of people. Look for it in yourself. Now, there are also stresses that are not caused by these enemies, but they just come from your past lives. And what are these stresses? In this world, everything around is alive. All planets in the solar system also have their subtle body as well as our Earth, and we contact everything around. And you do not have to know it in details. There is astrology. And each direction has its force. For example, when a person moves east, he has more heart energy, his life is more heartly, and his head thinks less. If he moves west, then heart closes and there is more thinking. If you go west to Germany, for example, people are close to each other in their hearts, but they are very intellectual. They think all the time, everything must be right and precise. Here it is taken softer. Relationships are more important, and their relationships are not valued. People are very distant. They want everything to be understandable and conscious. In the south, there is more strive for external happiness in this world, and in the north, there is more inner life, self-realization. So it is harder to give lectures in the south. In Krasnodar, people do not gather for lectures, they are fine. But in the north, there are more people because their consciousness is more internal. Directions affect our consciousness, our thinking. Such heartly relationships as here in the East cannot be found in the West. I go everywhere and I know. Did you hear me? You did. Similarly, as there are directions, we are also affected by planets above us. All these planets in the solar system have their energies, and depending on different periods in our life, we can get stress, but they are all about past events in our life. Listen to me closely now, please. If a person was very ambitious in his past life, he had big ambitions, he abused his high position, he took bribes, he was irresponsible, he did not follow daily routine, he did not perform his duties, he was not punctual or serious. As a result, in this life, there is a period when the energy of sun causes stress. This stress manifests like this. There is low self-esteem. As sun is responsible for digestion, the person cannot digest food, there are diseases, there are problems with immunity and circulation, high blood pressure. Stress also can be caused by health. There is no force of will and no responsibility, strength of responsibility. A husband loses respect of his wife. He does not perform his duties. He cannot be responsible. He loses his position in society. It is all bad influence of the sun. and the result is stress. There may be a few things at once. Before it was fine, but then suddenly it is here. That is caused by the sun. What is there to do? You should not do anything with the sun, but you must start your inner life prayer, and it will all go. Stress caused by Mars. If a person solved his problems with his will, he was aggressive, cruel, and rude. He did violence over weaker. He abused his power. Then there is Mars stress in this life. Classical example is fishermen. Not the ones on the Irtysh river, but those different ones who have batons with stripes, and they fish on roads. These are traffic policemen. Why? They fish for money. And for abusing their power, they will be stressed like this. And I saw many results. When a person uses law to take away other people's money, then fate also destroys his life very roughly. Often their bosses ruin their life, or their friends or children. Fate always finds a way to punish for abusing power and being dishonest to people. That is Mars stress. If a person has it, the signs are there are irascibility, uncontrollable anger. Sometimes people even drink to put out this anger. There is hypersexuality, there is no way to get satisfied, more and more it's required. A social behavior, bad habits, the character is ruined. If a woman is in this situation, she becomes very dry and rude in relationships, and often hormonal functions are in disorder. Sun stress gives high blood pressure, immunity suffers, there are problems with blood production organs, and Mars stress gives ulcer, hepatitis, a heart attack or a stroke, muscle dystrophy, epilepsy, manic depressive psychosis. Now we are discussing this sixth enemy, madness, when there is suddenly mayhem in your life. It was all fine and then suddenly it all goes wrong. And this knowledge can make your life better. There are laws, you can live on and pray and make your life better. You should not panic, think that you've been cursed. When something goes wrong in life and a person blames others, he thinks that he's been cursed, then he is influenced by lower forces and he cannot get out of his stress. For example, something went wrong, you go to some witch and she tells you you've been cursed, and in that moment you were cursed, because she gave you faith that someone thought about you and your life went wrong. In this world, it is impossible to do something bad to a person who did not deserve it. Nothing happens accidentally here. This world is made of justice. There is no injustice at all, and no witch can curse you for nothing.
Есть плохие периоды в жизни
There are
и
bad
неправильное
periods in
отношение
life
к ним.
and
Если вы пошли к
our
бабке, она сказала,
wrong
вас сглазили, вы об
attitude.
этом думаете,
If
выйти из
you
этого
go to
периода
that wish,
невозможно.
you cannot
Люди,
get
которые
out
находятся
of
в
your
невежестве, они
stress.
не выходят из
Ignorant
стресса.
people cannot
Перестаньте считать
get out
людей
of stress.
причиной ваших
Do not
страданий.
think that people
Есть
caused
три
you
способа
this.
отношения
There
к
are
своим
three
проблемам.
ways to think
Первый
about your
способ.
problems. The
Виноват
first one is
другой человек в моих
someone
проблемах.
else is
Выйти
guilty
из
in my
проблемы
problems,
невозможно.
and you cannot
Невозможно, запомните,
solve
мой муж виноват в моих
anything.
проблемах.
My
Выйти из
husband
проблемы
is guilty.
невозможно.
You
Мой муж
cannot solve your
пьяница.
problem. Your husband
И он
is
плохой, а я
drunk.
хорошая.
He
Выйти
is
из
bad,
ситуации
I'm good,
невозможно.
and you cannot
Второй
get out
способ.
of the situation.
Мы оба
The
виноваты.
second way
Есть
is
какой-то проблеск.
we are both guilty.
Означает не
There is
невежество, уже, а
hope.
страсть.
That means not
Третий
ignorance
способ.
but
Я сама
passion.
виновата во
But
всех
the
своих
third way
проблемах.
is
Выход
I am the
гарантирован.
reason of all my problems. Then
Попытайтесь
surely
это
you
понять.
will get
Вот
out
для
of it.
третьего способа дойти
It
сложно.
is
Для
difficult
этого
to
надо с
get to
собой что-то
that
сделать.
point, the third way. You must work on
Первый
yourself.
бывает чаще всего.
But the first way is the
И
most
всегда
common.
люди идут к этим
And
гадалкам, и
people
ответ
always
всегда
go
один
to
и
these
тот же.
witches
Тебя сглазили.
and they always hear that they've been cursed, that there's an evil eye.
Тебя сглазили, значит,
If an
всё,
evil eye was put on you,
шансов нет выйти
you
из
have no
ситуации.
chance to resolve your
То
problem.
же самое, страна
It is the
виновата,
same when you
правительство
blame
виновато,
the
и так
government,
далее.
the
Когда человек
country.
так думает, шансов нет победить судьбу.
That is a dead end.
Так стресс связан
Stress
с Юпитером.
attributed to
Если человек в
Jupiter.
прошлом жил без
If
цели,
in the past
цель была выбрана
a person
неправильно,
lived without goal
критиковал
or it
старших,
was wrong,
духовно чистых
he
и зрелых
criticized
людей,
his seniors,
был циничен,
spiritually
самолюбив,
mature
горд,
people. He
скован
was
своим пониманием
cynical
вещей,
and
вел
proud.
бесцельную жизнь, не
His
интересовался
life was pointless.
самосовершенствованием,
He was not interested in
критиковал тех, кто
self-improvement,
занимается.
and he
В результате
criticized
влияния
those
стресса
who
по
did.
Юпитеру человек дезориентируется в своих
As a
ценностях,
result,
которые у него
Jupiter causes
находится в
disorientation
состоянии
in
депрессии,
life values, and there is depression.
рушит
He
свою жизнь.
destroys his life like that.
В результате этого стресса
This
развивается
stress
болезнь,
causes
хроническая слабость,
chronic
аутоиммунные
fatigue,
заболевания,
autoimmune
туберкулез,
diseases,
рассеянный склероз,
tuberculosis, multiple sclerosis,
неостынение, нарушение обмена
metabolic
веществ,
disorders,
хронические
chronic
инфекции,
infections,
психостения, депрессия,
depression,
шизофрения.
schizophrenia.
Результат
This is
безверия
the result of
Очень
disbelief. It is cruel
и оскорбления святых людей.
and insulting saints.
Стресс, связанный с
Stress
негативным
caused
влиянием
by
Луны,
bad
возникает,
influence of
если человек в
the
своем
moon
прошлом жил без любви к
appears
близким
if
людям,
the person lived unloving his relatives,
если
he
он
only
не
loved
уважает
himself.
мать, жену, дочь,
If
пожилых
he
женщин,
disrespected
или
his
женщин в
mother,
целом,
daughter,
холодно
or
относится
women
к
in
друзьям,
general, if he is
замкнут,
cold to his friends,
скован в близких
he is
отношениях, не интересуется
secluded,
вопросами
he is very limited in
взаимоотношений.
his personal life, he is not
результате
interested in relationships.
Увеличивается
As a result,
отгороженность
he
от всего в этом
distances
мире,
himself
проявляются
from
страхи,
everything in this
панические
world.
состояния,
There are
замкнутость,
fears,
холодность, желание
seclusion,
решать проблемы,
coldness,
здоровье,
undesire to solve
увеличение
problems.
головных болей,
On the health side,
особенно при изменении
headaches,
погоды, снижение
especially
памяти,
weather reaction,
обмороки,
bad
ломота в
memory,
мышцах и суставах,
pains,
боли в кишечнике,
pains in muscles and joints,
нарушение сна,
sleep disorders, intestinal problems,
в личной жизни одиночество.
and loneliness in personal life.
Результат
This is
плохого
the
отношения к
result
женщинам.
of treating
бывает.
women bad. It
Надо
happens.
любить мать,
You should love your mother
женщин в целом
and
уважать.
women in general. You must respect them, then you won't be lonely.
Женская энергия отвечает за личную жизнь.
Female
за семью.
energy is responsible for family and
Без
personal
женщины
life.
семья невозможна.
Family is impossible without a woman.
Стресс, связанный
Venus
с
stress
негативным влиянием
appears
Венеры, возникает, если
if
человек
a
в прошлом не
person
дарил
did
людям
not give
окружающим миру
love
счастья,
and happiness to
не
people
был
around,
удовлетворен тем,
he
что
was
ему
not
дал Бог,
satisfied with what he was
не
given,
постигал красоту и
he did not
гармонию этого
study
мира,
beauty
не
and
мог
harmony of
правильно
this world,
организовать свой досуг,
he had bad
неправильно
leisure,
относился к праздникам,
he
не стремится
did not
достичь
like festivals,
счастья.
he did not
Высшего
strive for
счастья.
happiness, higher happiness, I mean. This stress causes a chaotic daily routine, bad habits, eating before sleep, digestion disorders, unstableness of character, resentfulness, and there is an emotional strain, hormonal dysfunctions, thyroid, adrenal gland, emaciation or excessive weight, infertility, kidney diseases, immunity disorders, hysterias. Well, we have only 10 minutes left. We will continue tomorrow. I am very grateful to all of you for being with me all this time, listening to my talking and fighting your fatigue. 3 hours is much time. Thank you very much. It is impossible to avoid stress caused by planets. I gave you 2 options. There are our enemies. When we get what we fight for, we make mistakes, we get under influence, and then we have to suffer. We get a lover and we lose our kids. And not always there is a way back. You must accept your life as it is then. The same with greed. You take credit and then you have to pay it back. You cannot always fight your enemies off. It is better not to make deals with them, not to get under influence. But planets' stress come inevitably. But it can be your difficult period, you must accept it, you live as you can, but you can be stressed when you rebel against it. Anything can happen in your life, it comes from your past. I tell you how it happens because it is always about some planet astrologically. There must be some force to press you, to force you in this situation, so that you were weak, because in this world all forces interact with this space. Why are you so hardly in Krasnoyarsk? Because you live in the east. And why are people so smart in Germany? Because they live in the west. Planets affect us just as the place we live in. What is better, to be smart or to be hardly? Both is good. Some people like it here, some there. But if you like it elsewhere, that is dangerous. That can cause destruction. People attracted to life in the West. I had this experience. I gave lectures to Russians in America, and they all told me that the first 5 years were unbearable. Different people, different culture and relationships. Raise your hands, those who have experienced it. Do you want to come back there? No. But some like it. But still there is going to be stress. 5 years to adjust. And then it's fine. 150 people had consultations, and almost each and every one had this bad period of adaptation. Different people, mentality, culture, people, relationships, all is different. Why do you need this? Live where everything is clear to you. Why running elsewhere? It's not like life is worse in America. It's different. In Africa, it is also different. But if a person is in illusion, he is going to suffer. If he is in illusion, he thinks, wow, Africa is great. Chunga chunga, the sky is blue. Chunga chunga, Summer round the year, chunga-chunga, life is so fun, chunga-chunga, sings his song. Our happiness is endless, coconuts and bananas. That means you will get caught, because besides the chunga-chunga, there are different traps that you are unaware of. Well, okay, I made you laugh a little. Besides prayer, how can you help? And why do you need anything else? There is something that connects our hearts. Happiness comes heart to heart. How else can you give happiness? You can come up to him, kiss him, and that is your help. Or you can give it from outside, but you are not always able to do it. When a person is stressed, he does not get anything. But if you do it through prayer, through the heart, then it is received. How could I help this girl? Only with prayer, and she felt better. You can help. Faith comes from one person to another. Why are you discussing anything? Ask me again. No. Just ask me if you can help. You can help. Do you feel it? You do not believe in it. Faith flows from one person to another. There is no other way but prayer, and it is your inner life. One woman approached me and asked, "How can I help my son, but do not tell me to pray?" And I said, "Then I will stay quiet." Let's sit straight. I apologize that the second lecture had some scolding. I want you to be happy, but sometimes I have to tell you difficult things. Please accept it as a manifestation of my love. Knowledge tastes bitter at first and then sweet. Please accept it like this, especially when I scolded you about taking loans to buy big apartments. I bless you all to have big apartments and to have enough money for it without any loans or credits. And if you have already taken a loan, I bless you to pay it back. It is okay to take a small loan from the government. It's okay. But if you want to take a big loan, I also bless you to change your mind in that moment, to become sober. Well, okay. Let's sit straight. You must remember holiness. In our life, we are always in need. We need so many different things, and it limits our ability to be selfless. It makes us bound by our desires and destroys our life. Need leads us to these 6 enemies: lust, greed, anger, illusion, envy, and madness. It comes from our needs. But a person must be stronger than that. You must force yourself to sit down in the morning, unmoving,
духовный объект,
You must look at the object of your love,
кланяться ему,
spiritual love, holiness.
внутренне настраиваться. Я
You
хочу
bow
тебе
down to
служить, я
it
хочу тебе
and
служить,
you
я хочу
meditate.
тебе служить.
I want to serve you, I want to serve
Я
you.
хочу жить для тебя,
I
а не
want
для
to live
себя.
for you, not
Мне
myself.
надоело думать только о себе.
I'm tired of thinking about
Я хочу
myself.
наполниться
I
твоей
want to
силой,
be filled with
чистоты,
your
бескорыстия,
force
служить
of
тебе.
selflessness
Я
and
желаю
love.
всем счастья.
I wish everyone happiness.
Так настроитесь, вот так.
Meditate like this.
И ваше сердце
Your
думает о
heart is
святости.
focused on holiness and your voice chants,
Я
I
желаю
wish
всем
everyone
счастья.
happiness.
Я
I
желаю
wish
всем
everyone
счастья.
happiness.
Я
I
желаю
wish
всем
everyone
счастья.
happiness.
Я желаю всем счастья. 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 Всем счастья. Я желаю 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 всем счастья. Всем счастья. Я желаю 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 всем счастья. Счастье. Я желаю всем счастья. 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 Спасибо вам всем большое.
Thank you very much. I wish happiness to all of you, love, knowledge, all the brightest things there are in this world. Please stay a little longer. Look into your heart. Remember the cause of your suffering. And if you see that it is easier to think about it, that means you made a few steps to victory. Remember it. Save this result. Be aware what happened. Remember where your suffering is, and if your heart is calmer, that means you did some work. It will get better and better.
Счастливо.